Welcome to the Comics Aficionados right here on Thinking Critical YouTube. Hope everyone is having a great weekend. We've got New York Comic Con going off. We've got Aaron Sparrow, I think Gabe, Drew from Comics Elite, Joe Corallo, all those guys are out there at New York Comic Con. Hopefully, if you're in the area, you got to run into those guys, or if you're going to be there tomorrow, you get to run into them then. But we've got some comic book nerd stuff to get into. We got the return of a big team in a big event book. We got a couple more events being announced from Marvel and DC. We got the Walk of Shame from Daredevil, basically his debut in the MCU, at least as a hero, and a couple other things. We got Nick Rakita Law got kicked off of YouTube, so interesting things popping off, and we've got a great panel to talk about all this. Gabe, you were last second replacement. How you doing, Gabe?
I'm doing fantastic, and I'm happy to be your second stringer.
Everybody was at New York Comic Con. Thank goodness that you were able to make it. We almost had a 4-man panel.
I'm happy to pitch in whenever I can. So thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
So what's going on over at Comical Opinions and Weird Science DC? Is there anything you got going out that's special that people should be looking out for?
Reviews, and more reviews. And I'm happy to report that we had a hiatus or a break, if you want to call it that, from Scout Comics. Because they had some internal turmoil going on. I won't get into the details. They're kind of going through their thing, but we're back on track. So we've got a lot of Scout Comics issues coming up, and one of them is going to maybe even our pick of the week. So we'll see how that goes if you watch to the end of the show.
Very nice. Aaron Sparrow is in the house, and he says, "Good morning from New York Comic Con aficionados. 3 days in, and I have yet to be attacked by Mark Brooks." In and of itself is a bit of an accomplishment, isn't it? I don't know. He's been threatening people, so stay safe, Aaron. I don't want you getting slapped around by Mark Brooks. He is the king of the wet covers, so definitely watch out for that guy. Who else? We got the comic book retailer perspective. We got Yul Carter from Fantastic Comics. How you doing, Yul?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on. I can't wait to talk about some comic books because that's not what I always do all the time.
You're also a wrestling connoisseur.
I have been known to dabble in the wrestling arts as far as viewing it. Never actually. You'd have to know me when I was a kid. When we used to drop from elbows from the sofa, and stuff like that.
Knocked my brother out once. So what's been going on in the chain? You got any big interviews or things that people should know about or be looking out for?
I have my buddy Rick Worley. He's going to be coming on soon. He has a YouTube channel where he's talked about all sorts of things that are very interesting. He has a new video where he talks about J.K. Rowling. And if you're interested in hearing a different perspective, you should check him out. He'll be on in the next few weeks, probably. Otherwise, 2 weeks ago, I had Joe on, Corallo, and we talked about Luda, Grant Morrison's novel.
Ludo.
Yeah, it was a mess of a review, but I think that's exactly the type of review that book needed. And if you're interested, you should check that one out.
And what's the manga that you're always pushing? It's Food Truck Wars.
Crazy Food Truck, and I know Eric's probably going to be talking about that, so I'll let him go with that one.
Very nice. Speaking of the Sultan of Soup himself, Eric Sullivan, the only man that I know that has a comic book / food channel. Two things that I personally love quite a lot. How you doing, Eric?
I'm doing very well, Wes. Thank you so much for having me back on. I'm enthused and engaged, and I'm buying new funny books. Yes.
So you're in the area of New York Comic Con. Do you like? Do you just don't like New York, or are you just a Boston guy? You a chowder?
Yeah, I'm a chowder head. I don't eat chowder. I can make a hell of a cup of chowder, but I don't eat the stuff. No,
not with the oyster crackers,
clam chowder, corn chowder. No chowder for me, sir. I take chili instead.
Well, it's soup adjacent at least.
They're soup adjacent, yes.
But chili is not soup.
Yeah, I know it's soup adjacent. This is correct. Yes, and both good. Yeah, I just having a great day. Just blessed to be with you guys talking comic books again. I love talking about comic books. I often do.
Very nice. We got a lot of big things to talk about, so you're going to be happy with that. Next up, we've got Weird Science's Jim. How you doing, Jim?
Lovely. Just lovely. Thanks for having me on. I think I might be third stringer actually this week, but that's cool. That is cool.
No, you were on the original.
Okay.
Wait, I originally invited Gabe and you were the backup. My bad. I got that one switched.
Yes.
I'm Jim's pinch hitter.
Yes, exactly. That sounds sexy. And yeah, I'm happy to be here, talk a little Dark Crisis. I don't know how happy I am.
Did you get a little sleep this time?
No, No, I did
Okay.
not. I got, I think, 2 hours. So that's good though. That's usually, average.
Last but not least, we have Doc. Doc and I just recorded Worst of the Week, Marauders number 7. You're definitely going to want to watch that review. What an abomination of a comic book that thing is. And Doc and I are also going to talk about why this era of X-Men might be the worst era of all times, but we don't want to give too much away. How you doing, Doc?
Good, because I'm staying as far away from New York City and big scary Mark Brooks as possible.
Well, he'd probably fuck you up, to be honest.
Yeah, I know. He'd sit on me.
No, he'd paint you, and next thing you know, you'd look all wet and everything.
I know, and then I
You'd
just
walk around glistening.
yeah. Nobody wants to see a glistening Doc.
Absolutely. So how's Pepper doing? We were recording earlier, and Pepper just wanted to get in on the action.
Oh, this fucking dog that's at my house.
You're having a doggy sleepover.
Yeah, apparently we're dog sitting, and she is very annoying. And won't just like fucking lay there. Just go lay over there somewhere. Leave me alone. I love dogs, but not when I'm recording.
Absolutely. That dog was messing up our mojo. And we definitely want to hear from the viewers. Does the Sultan of Soup himself look like he should be starring in Kill Jill, a gender bent version of Quentin Tarantino's classic ode to 70s martial arts flicks? I think he's got it. He's got the outfit and everything.
Looks like Conor McGregor right now.
Don't give him that much credit.
I know.
Conor McGregor's got his own whiskey and everything. He's pretty cool.
Although I heard that whiskey is not
It's fucking
that
terrible.
good.
Not good?
I was
is-
being nice. It's like
it
a
is
Teenie Howard comic.
Yeah,
Teeny
Hey,
Howard
Howard,
whiskey.
it'd be like if Dan Slott, Tinny Howard, and Vita Ayala all got together to make a whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
They're absolutely no idea what the fuck they're doing. They're gonna just keep throwing shit in there, and then everyone in the media will tell you it is the greatest whiskey on planet.
It needs more lavender
Conor
seeds.
McGregor. Who likes that guy? We do have a couple of super chats we'll hit real quick before we get in the first topic. Cal Lyle, Mark Brooks versus Ethan. Mark is a cloud. I do not think he made a good accounting of himself in that debate, if that's what that was supposed to be. Definitely made himself look like an idiot. Not a good look on that man.
Yeah, he didn't look good at all. I'm sure there'll be people that will praise him, but I mean, he just sounded like somebody that had Tourette's or something.
It was
Yeah, just,
it was
Di-
two fat old nerds
Yeah.
yelling insults.
Well, there
at
is
each other.
definitely that. Yes.
You know what
It's
it
not like
remind-
the comic shop.
Yes, but it reminded me of like one of those like early mid 2000 Bush year. Every time they'd have like, here's our panel discussion on the news tonight, and it's about floating heads in boxes, and they're all screaming at each other, and you can't understand a goddamn word that was said.
Yeah, it did not come off well for either one of them. Lane Kramer. So, what's your favorite event in the last 10 years, story or sales? Well, I mean, I was Blackest Night's last 10 years, right?
No, that was
Yeah.
2008, so that's 14 years ago now.
14 years.
Yeah, this
Well,
is
We might
rough
have to
one.
fudge it.
2009, yeah.
Yeah.
House of X Powers of 10. What's your favorite event in the
Ooh.
last 10 years, Jim?
I wanted to say Blackest Night. I want to end up fudging that in here.
Okay, you say
but-
Blackest Night.
Yeah, I'm just saying it because really since then it's been kind of down.
All right, what's your favorite event, Yule?
I'll have to say, other than like the relaunched universe type stuff, you know, like the New 52, if you could call that an event. But
Flashpoint
definitely House of X Powers of 10.
I'm with you, man. Doc, what's your favorite event the past 10 years?
Oh, I don't know. Is there one where everything
Just
got
take it off the
canceled?
top of your head, Doc. Extinction? Was it Extermination? That was
No,
good.
there has not been one good event in 10 years. Sorry.
All right. How about you, Sully? You got a favorite event the last 10 years?
Yes, I'll say DC Rebirth because I'm a huge Wally West fan, and seeing
That'll do
him
it.
come back had all the feels for me.
Very nice. Last but not least, what do you think, Gabe? What's your favorite event the last 10 years?
Well, shockingly, I'm on the same page as Eric. Even though they failed to stick the landing, the start of Rebirth for me was everything I was
Amazing.
looking for in DC getting back on track. So that's the one that sticks out for me.
Absolutely. Common sense. Hard to be an Anya Corzon while Mark Brooks is being a donkey. I heard Anya Corazade is going to be in Madam Web movie. How much royalties does he get? I don't know. I've heard Marvel doesn't pay much, but I don't think Madam Web's going to be a big movie anyway. Probably going to be a loss leader on that one.
I've heard Disney doesn't pay that much, actually.
Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah.
I mean,
Madam Web's going to be Sony, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's Sony.
Yeah.
Jim Starlin got like $5,000. I don't know. Find out whatever the fuck like J.M. DeMatteis got for
Venom.
Annie, whatever her name was in the side character in Venom.
Mm-hmm.
That's about what you're going to get, what Mark Brooks would get for Anya Cora.
They might fly him into the premiere, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Cal Lyle. The same with Joe Glass. I think I know the name. Who the hell is Joe Glass?
That's
Joe
that
who?
dude who used to work for Bleeding Cool or does or something.
He's the one that made the Pride comic with like the belly shirt wearing Pride flag Superman character.
Is he the guy being investigated?
Yes.
I thought it was
but threatened somebody, right?
It's not round one of Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
No.
Glass Jaw Joe.
That's Glass Joe.
Thank you.
But you're missing the point. You're missing the point. The appropriate answer is Joe Who. That's the appropriate answer. Joe Who?
I think
That's the
I
appropriate
saw somebody with the name similar to that was threatening to burn down a building for no reason.
No, I think that was it.
That was him.
That was some
dude Zach
rando.
talks about.
That is a random person of no consequence. The appropriate answer is Joe Who.
Joe
All right,
Who?
let's talk about this big return of the Justice League. We got Dark Crisis number 5. April, the Justice League were supposedly killed off in Justice League 75. First question, I got to ask you this, Gabe. Did the Justice League actually die?
No.
No, right? He put them in their own happiness multiverses to power up whatever machine he has, right?
You don't want me to filibuster? The answer is no. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. The answer is they didn't die in the sense that us mere human, simple mortals understand death. They were displaced from their life. But we knew they were going to come back. That was made known up at the very beginning. We've seen in the interim where they've gone off into these little pocket paradise dimensions where they're supposed to be hypnotized into staying where they are to kind of stay out of the fight. And those were all issues that have largely been terrible. And then they're coming back. And then they're going to come back, and then somebody's going to pull off the heads of the action figures and put different heads on the action figures for an upcoming event. But it doesn't matter. Yes, they're back. They never really died in the first place, and I don't think anybody even thought that was close to being a reality.
Here's my other question, Gabe. At the end of Dark Crisis number 4, the Infinite Universe is returned, correct?
Maybe, sure, yes.
That's what they say on the last page, right? That's what it's presented?
That's what they say on the last page, yes.
And then we get to Dark Crisis number 5, and they're not back, and they need the power from the heroes in the happiness multiverses so we can get the energy to bring them back. And then as he's about to do it, they're being freed, and he's like, "Oh no, I can't bring them back." And then they show up, and they're like, "You can't do this." And then he's like, "Ha, you're too late. I brought him back." And then he disappeared. Is that what happened? That's how I read
pretty
it.
much. Here's my sympathy moment for you. Is you are desperately, as a normal, healthy, mentally stable human being, trying to make sense of this event, trying to follow the flow, trying to follow the story, assuming it's sequential, linear, plotted, and mapped out. That is not this event. You're trying to make sense of a bunch of kittens running around randomly and thinking that there's some pattern to what they're doing. There's no, just let it go. It is a random event. It's a lost cause. You can read along if you like, but if you're trying to make sense of it and trying to fit it into some kind of continuity and trying to say, okay, well, this leads to that, leads to that, leads to that, it's not going to happen. And it's already too late. You're past the midway part of the event. There's no way they can retcon all this into some kind of cohesive narrative within I think we got 3 more issues left.
Yes, 2.
There's no way they're going to make it all fit together, and everybody's going to say, "Oh, well, that was what they had planned all along." That's not going to happen.
Get the aha moment.
There's no way. You'd have to just jettison most of everything that's going on. The very fact that Black Adam is the voice of reason should tell you that they're already in trouble. It's Black Adam.
What do you think about all this stuff, Jim? Were you as confused as I was and underwhelmed by the return as I was?
Yeah, it sucked. This issue probably should have been the first issue, and then we might have been able to do something with it. You end up repeating plans that suddenly work now. And the real big overall picture is, bringing back the Infinite Earths. Nobody really cares. And you have a multiverse already. It's not like we have no multiverse right now, and this would have been bringing back the multiverse. We have a multiverse. We were told we had an omniverse. And now the whole play here is, oh my God, we're going to bring back these Infinite Earths. You end up having this issue come out with still those one-shots, Batman and the Green Arrow. They haven't even come out yet. So the timing's off. And really, it's just confusing. And really, you should just go in, if you're reading this, just forget about everything you already had and just start new with this and realize they only have 2 issues and there's not going to be enough time to tie it up. And really, the tie-ins to all of this, including that green stupid thing this week, they're awful. They're just awful. They're not elevating.
Deadly Green or something?
Deadly Green. Oh, it was terrible. It was so bad. And in that, the only thing you get out of that is that they pull out the Anti-Monitor machine from Pariah. That's going to be the MacGuffin at the end. That's what's going to probably suck the dark energy out of all of the multiverse, and that'll win the day. I mean, it's really
going to
bad.
suck something, Jim.
Oh, it
in
sucks.
The comic book, Dark Crisis #5, they say we learned that the Great Darkness doesn't have control of Pariah. Pariah's mind has distorted or infected the Great Darkness itself, but we don't know why. My eyes almost rolled in the back of my head.
Yeah, when they say you don't know why, and it's Joshua Williamson is an okay writer. He's not an event writer. He doesn't have much of an imagination in my mind, and it just ends up already seeming like you don't have to read this. And then they announce events and things like that to make it even worse. So it just ended up this week. I tried to be positive, but by the end of this, this is nothing. This story is not a crisis. It's nothing.
Supposed to be the reboot of the new universe. We're getting the Mark Waid version of DC Comics coming up.
We'll see.
Hopefully Joe Quesada too. Man.
He's going to be the cover artist for Batman. He's also got his work with Frank Miller. That's going to be what he's doing. He's just getting a little extra paycheck on Batman. Yule, did you see who's going to be the next Batman artist?
Oh yeah, I did. What was it, Mike Hawthorne?
Mike Hawthorne replacing Jorge Jimenez. That's like replacing a Porsche with a fucking Yugo.
I think Mike Hawthorne is a little bit better than a Yugo.
Have you read?
He is a Hyundai.
Have you read his Wonder Woman comic book that he did recently?
No, but I mean, I've seen Mike Hawthorne.
She looks like Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah. Okay.
His art is so bad now; it's unrecognizable.
Well, that's a shame. I was underwhelmed when
Is it the Wonder Woman Eternal?
Or Evolution?
Yes.
Is that the one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does look like Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, that's
straight
awful.
up.
When I heard he was going to be taking over Batman, the first thing I thought was, Jorge Jimenez had that long thread where he was talking about how I'm not going anywhere, even though he just got announced for that Mark Miller book. I'm not going anywhere. Now I guess go ahead.
Jorge Jimenez. He realized what a paycheck looks like when he worked for Mark Miller.
I'm
he's
sure
like,
he's making a good paycheck for DC.
But I think he's exclusive to DC Comics, but there's some type of agreement where they're letting him go over and do this extra work.
Well, it's creator owned. So
that thing's going to leave eventually, that contract's going to end.
Yeah, even an exclusive can't preclude creator owned work. And as long as he has a bit of an ownership stake in it, then
I don't think he does because he didn't create it. This isn't new. This is a sequel. But I'm telling you right now, as I understand it, there was an agreement behind the scenes where they said, yes, you can go work on this Mark Miller thing.
Right. So I are they going to restart Batman at #1? Didn't we hear that or something like that?
They're saying at 131 they're changing artists, but I've been told, the rumor is that in January it's going back to Batman #1.
I would assume Mike Hawthorne's just like a little in between until Jorge comes back or somebody better is what I assume. So these last few issues of Batman aren't important to anything.
They couldn't get Jim Lee to illustrate it.
Jim Lee has to
2030.
Do you think if Jim Lee did the Legion of Superheroes, anybody would really buy it?
Yeah, the covers alone, as long as he did them.
I don't know.
You should know that better than me. Well, maybe your shop's not like this, but a lot of the retailers I talk to, it's covers that are driving sales, not stories right now.
Oh no. Well, I think for the most part, my readers or my customers are readers. They're also the kind of people that let shit stack up, and then it takes a while till they get to it. Kind of like me on Dark Crisis.
I don't like me on everything right now.
Yeah, it happens. It's football season. I don't have time to be. I don't have time to be reading some comic books or whatever it may be.
It's bad comic season.
But yeah, it's been bad comic season for a while, probably for a long while. Mostly.
All right, Sully, we got you back into comics. You had stepped away. You were taking a break from the funny books. You've been back on the show. You've been going to your comic shop.
Yes.
We got you into Dark Crisis, which you're enjoying more than I.
Yeah.
Are you hopeful about the return of the Justice League? But you didn't get a copy because it was sold out.
It was sold out at my local comic book store. I went yesterday. I picked up 4 comics that, we'll talk about later in the picks of the week. But I would have picked up Dark Crisis 5 and had a more formed opinion. Yet I'm going to go back today because I need boxes, boards, and bags. And it's better to go to your local comic book store and get your supplies there through Amazon. Support your local comic book store, please. I'm looking forward to it because, I'm liking it so far. It seems to have the story. It's a really ripoff of the story beats in Final Crisis. It really is. It's because it's Joshua Williams trying to just be Grant Morrison, in my humble opinion. But I don't mind it either.
Scott Snyder at the same time because there's a lot of elements from death metal in there too.
Yes, but it's fun and it's definitely a superhero story for superhero fans and DC fans. So, and I'm liking the Flash tie-ins.
Those are over though.
Yeah, but still, it's like, hey, I got a Crisis, I got some tie-ins, and it's gonna look great with the rest of my Crisis collection. Yeah, so I'm psyched about that. But
there's something else in this comic book, and I don't want to ruin the experience for you, Sully, but hopefully you'll be able to come in here with an open mind.
Oh, go for it.
Gabe, when they finally have this conflict, they've been building up to this. Nightwing has been trying to recruit this new Justice League for essentially 4 issues now, and everyone keeps turning him down. He's gotten a few people here or there, but they just decide out of the blue that they're going to join him this time, but they're the Teen Titans. And we finally get this big confrontation. Not only is it Deathstroke and the Secret Society, the Legion of Doom are in there, and all these other villains. And we have this big conflict, and we know that Rose is supposed to go kill Nightwing, but Nightwing knows that he has to go kill Deathstroke. And the battle's going on. We know nothing about what's actually happening, who's winning, who's losing. It's just like a few flashes of action here and there, but there's never any stakes raised in it. Did you notice that too?
Yes, and that's been a chronic problem throughout this entire event. If you remember, I think it was way back, like it was so long ago. I think it was like issue 1 or 2 when they had that first conflict where Deathstroke showed up at Teen. Yes, it was issue 2 where Deathstroke showed up at the Teen Titans Tower, and they were just getting ready to rumble. The way the issue 1 set it up was that Deathstroke was going to take advantage of the Justice League's absence and then just like lay waste to everybody. He shows up in that second issue at the Teen Titans Tower with all these henchmen and all these other villains coming up against him. And what happened? It was like a 2-minute slap fight, and then they just parted ways. This is the same.
You can't kill him. You need to leave.
Yeah, it's the same cycle over and over again. They build up these big conflicts. They did the same thing with when the Green Lantern showed up a couple issues later. They build up these big conflicts, then they get the villains and the heroes going head to head, and then it just sort of dissipates. Because somebody recognizes, oh well, I need that person alive, or we can't fight right now, or we need to do something else first. Williamson is doing all the buildup, but and this is the complaint we had when we heard about this thing was coming up in the first place with Williamson, is he builds up, but he doesn't stick the landing. When you're going to set up these big battles, you have to pay them off, and he hasn't paid off a single one. So even though we recognize that's exactly the same thing that's happening here, it's a consistent pattern. And yeah, exactly what you've recognized is absolutely true. He builds up, you see this big fight about to happen. It maybe there's like a little bit of a skirmish to it, but then it just sort of dissipates, and then people go their separate ways because they have something else that's more important to do, or somebody's key to some other happening that's going on in a different plot thread. That's just the way Williamson's laid it out. If people like that, that's great. For everybody else, I think they want a little payoff for the buildup, and they're just not getting that from this event. Which seems
because you get this amazing. Because you
So
get
go ahead.
this amazing panel at the end. You finally see Pariah. He leaves the heroes. The Justice League are on the dead multiverse. He shows up. He's got the Spectre, Doomsday, Darkseid, obviously Deathstroke. He's got every heavy hitter as far as villains that you could have backing him up. And it feels like it's supposed to be a big moment, Jim. But like the tide wasn't turning in the battle. It wasn't like Nightwing and the Teen Titans thought, oh my God, we won. Deathstroke's like within my grasp, where once we kill him, this thing is all over. And then all of a sudden, defeat is snatched from the jaws of victory, and Pariah comes and stops it. They're like, oh my God, we can't win. Like he never sets up this like big moment where that reveal is impactful.
And it's true. He's been doing it all along. There's nothing impactful so far yet. Even this whole deal with the Justice League, them being dead, it never had any impact. Because even in the regular deal, the regular books continue. That's not Williamson's fault, but
and Nightwing was also saying they're not really dead. They're going to come back.
Yeah. And even then, I mean, remember the event started with most of the universe saying, the Justice League, they're doing this again. Oh my God. They didn't even have the in-universe people upset about it. And it just, I mean, the whole play of this is that nothing is impactful. Nothing has shown any sort of crisis level, anything. It's just the idea of look at what we might get. And like you said, it feels like Joshua Williamson in an interview said there's just so much in each issue. He can't put anything else in. But yet it feels like you don't get anything in it. There's too much.
I can tell you right now, there's a lot of places.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. And I think that one of the things that I saw somebody in the chat say, he's really good with character work. If that's what you think, where is it? You're not getting any character work. You want an event to have tons of characters, but you need to have, a heart.
Well, Nightwing's not giving up on Beast Boy, even though he was shot in the face and didn't die.
Yeah, and then, I mean, at points, you had Nightwing just at his bedside doing nothing. I mean, everybody...
Like the way the world is ending, right?
Where the world's ending. I said at one point, I think it was like the third issue or so, you ended up having a scene where Joshua Williamson wanted to show that the heroes are heroes and they were delivering pizzas to EMT. This is the end of the universe. I know it's nice. Yeah,
that really happened in this?
Pizzas. Yeah, I mean, it's just a quick little splash
issue
page
4.
Where, they ended up delivering pizzas, going and seeing kids. This is
that's what Nightwing would do. Batman might not do it, but Nightwing would.
Well, again, that's why Batman usually wins, except now. But it's just nothing.
Teen Titans and pizza too, Hey,
and he's pushing the Titans, but when you get them in this issue, especially, it's just like, what have you guys been doing? And showing Teen Titan Academy students. Please,
who's bringing those goofballs to a fight?
Where are these? Where's the permission slips for these kids to get involved in this shit? I mean,
their helmets.
JSA is like, listen, you go and fight all the bad guys. We're going to go investigate. It's like, you guys are the most powerful heroes here.
Yeah, why aren't you doing this?
No. We're doing them a favor. They really just need to die. They're better. It's better for their future for them to die than to exist as useless pieces.
Well, that's the thing, Doc. In the event, they won't die. That's the thing. They'll get these chains on their chest, and they'll just be part of the Dark Army.
Okay,
like
fine.
Zombies or something.
Cool. Then they'll get cast into the dark multiverse and never seen again.
Yeah, I'm telling you that antimatter machine, that's going to be the wishing machine of this event.
Absolutely.
It's just going to end up. It came out of nowhere. That's the thing, though. A big event, whether you roll your eyes or not, you want to see big deaths. You want to see those things, and especially if they're going to reset some things or whatnot, you play with it, have fun, do something big, but it just doesn't.
I don't mind hokiness here and there, Jim. You kind of get that in events when like the stakes or maybe the things that are happening are so complex you need a little shortcut here or there, but you always get the payoff where it's like, oh my God, Batman is back. I knew it. They've been teasing it, but we hadn't seen it. He showed up right at the exact time that he needed to, and he's going to save the day, and the heroes are going to win. And you're like, oh, this was so worth it.
Yeah.
I got that with Blackest Night like 4 times.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we haven't been getting. Death metal. I mean, half of these events, when you're done, you can't even explain them. You end up thinking about what's happening. You're like, I don't really know what happened.
Think about it.
But that's also why I'm convinced Williamson isn't following a standard script plotting structure. Because if you just take a standard boilerplate type of, this is how you write a script, there's a rise and fall to it. You know, first you get the introductions, then you get the fun and games, then you have the Dark Night of the Soul, and there's an order to it. We should be coming into the last part of the event down into, at least going downward into the part of the script where they call the All Hope is Lost section.
Mhm.
This is where they think there's no, this is it.
That would be next issue then.
Yeah, half the
Yeah.
people are dead. We don't have anybody that left is going to help us. Exactly that. All hope is lost. You should be on a downward trend of hope. You
Yeah,
should
Captain
be
America standing there in front of Thanos and his entire army saying, "I can do this all day,"
Yeah.
but he's got no backup.
Exactly. That's
This-
exactly what happened in Endgame. Everybody thought there's no way. It's only Cap with his broken shield in front of Thanos and his entire army. There's no way that's going to happen. So that way, when you get
Hold on.
exactly when you get to the finale,
Hold on.
it pulls that back up. It's like an adrenaline hit.
I
Williamson is
figured.
not getting us down that low. To bring
Yes,
us
he
back
is.
up.
Yes, he is. It's just very meta. You have no faith that the story will be okay.
Yeah.
And
That's what I
and then the last two
All hope is
issues,
lost.
all hope is lost that the story will ever make
Can
any
be
fucking
salvaged.
sense and can be salvaged. And then I don't know, somebody that's actually talented will show up and write the last two fucking issues.
Yes, all hope is lost with DC Comics right now. That's the phase we're in right now. And then,
Well,
but the point is, you got to get low so that you can pull them back up, and you get that adrenaline hit on the finale. He's not bringing us low because he never.
Well, he
believed
killed
that they
the
died.
Legion of Doom off, which always seemed like a bad idea anyway. It's like, what is
Yeah.
this?
You
Yeah,
gotta
I
bring
think
us
that the
low
whole
and bring us
deal-
back up.
I mean, the idea that, he's not following a standard script procedure, whatever, I think it's because he's trying to mimic every other event that has happened, every other thing at DC. He's just retelling things. He's not got it doesn't feel original. It doesn't feel new. Once they put that Infinite Earths on it, you knew that, this was just going to be a rehash, polish up some things.
Can't polish up a turd, Jim.
No, that's what they say. I've tried.
And what's
Mythbusters
with
proved you
Superman
can.
in this one, Jim? All of a sudden, he's like that character from the end of Thor: Love and Thunder. He's not even a DC character anymore.
No, yeah, again,
It's not
almost
Destiny.
like
What's the name of that one? It's
I can't even remember. Yeah, I know
Eternity.
what you're talking.
Eternity.
Yeah, Eternity. Yep. Yeah, it just ends up. But again, is that a wow moment? Were you wowed, Wes, when you
No,
saw
I was
that?
confused.
You
Why did
shake
he
your
stay
head.
there if he could do this?
Well, that's my big point.
He
You
should
have
have saved his
Superman.
buds. He stayed there for
Superman
decades.
says, I knew all this time, but I was just hanging. As his son probably is in grave danger. He's whatever. Lois whatever. He's just there hanging where he says, I knew this, and it just doesn't make sense. That's not a heroic thing to do at all.
David Torres was wild. Man, I wish I had that experience, man. I'm glad that went
Yeah.
for you.
Man.
So
Well, I've had readers that kind of like they just took a break and they said, rather than read all the stuff in between, they just jumped into Dark Crisis. And then there's new readers that, believe it or not, have come on to read DC Comics because of, the Son of Kal-El and stuff like that. And so like now they're reading Dark Crisis, which always scares me when there's a new reader reading stuff like this.
the good thing is, it'll make more
They're
sense.
enjoying it all right. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of continuity errors between what was happening in DC and what's happening in Dark Crisis. Like Beast Boy and Cyborg are supposed to be merged in the same being.
Right.
That's not in Dark Crisis. At the end of Jeff Thorne's Green Lantern run, a lot of the Green Lanterns become other lanterns and Star Sapphires and stuff. That's not in the run. There's a lot of really bad continuity errors. So you just jumped right in there. I think you would enjoy it more.
I did, because I was free of the bane of and the weight of the current continuity. I just jumped right in, like, oh, there are all the proper Green Lanterns looking like Green Lanterns. I'm fine with that. Yeah, and I'm a huge Green Lantern fan, so I enjoyed even seeing Simon Baz in the mix. Everyone was there and in their proper place. Looking good.
In Blackest Night, when everybody started getting their own ring powers, and you find out Scarecrow is a yellow lantern, and Superman is a blue lantern. Was that the best moment in comics in the last 15 years? I think it is.
That was pretty fun. I mean, I really enjoyed all the Jeff Johns stuff up until or at the end of I even through the New 52 actually. As far as his Green Lantern's concerned. But no, Blackest Night, I know a lot of people were kind of about it, but I understand, like zombies, kind of overplayed and all that stuff. But, we've been building to it for a long time in Green Lantern. And then all those people getting the different rings. Yeah, that was pretty sweet.
Like I was
Superman.
just like,
I
oh
had
my
a
goodness,
Hope shirt, you know.
It was
Yeah.
like one of the best reveals ever.
Yeah.
It, like gave you that little feeling that you were talking about, Gabe, where all of a sudden like you're like, oh my goodness, my adrenaline just hit and I'm really into this.
Yeah, I mean, this is something I harp on, and I pound my fist on the table about, and I beat the drum about every single chance I get. You get readers invested in your story when you can get them to relate emotionally. Stories aren't just about say the right words, put the characters in the right costume. That's all important, but you've got to get the emotional hook. That's why I talked about the script piece earlier about the Dark Night of the Soul and fun and games, and then finally getting into the All Hope is Lost before the finale. Is those are emotional roller coaster beats. Those are, you bring the reader up, you bring the reader down, you get them to feel. If all you're doing is just throwing stuff at them randomly, or even if there is some cohesion to it, but just like giving them wow moments, but there's no meat behind it, it's all superficial flash. They might enjoy the pop and the color of it, but it's not going to stick with them. They're not going to feel invested. And kind of to the point from Yule and Eric is, if people are just jumping into DC just to read this event and they kind of like it, which is fine, but once the event is over and they have to go back to the regular DC line, the disparity between the two is going to be so jarring. I would even argue off-putting that you're probably not going to get them to stick around. The point of an event like this, of a big universe resetting event, is to reestablish a new baseline and then get readers hooked in so that they can keep going, right? That's what DC wants. They want repetition. They want the repeat customers. There is nothing about this event that is going to entice, in my opinion, is going to entice anybody to come back as a repeat customer, because it's so standalone and it's so isolated from everything else that's going on, and it's so, not great in depending on your point of view, that you're not hooking them, and then you're not tying it into whatever's going to come after, especially since we've now seen the previews with Lazarus Planet. It just doesn't. It's almost driving customers away from that perspective, because you want the repeat customers. It's almost setting itself up to fail, and I think that's the great shame of it.
Absolutely. We do have a few super chats. Let's hear what the viewers have to say. Cal Lyle, do you think DC is better off declaring bankruptcy? Well, DC is an entity of like Warner Media within like Warner Brothers Discovery. So they couldn't declare bankruptcy, like they're part of another company. And I don't see that happening, although there isn't a large amount of debt associated with Warner Brothers Discovery. But I don't think they'd be better off doing that. I think we'll probably see them end up licensing out some of their comics.
Yeah.
Doesn't DC actually make money?
Yes.
I mean, like a couple bucks. You can't.
It's not like an enormous amount of money for the budget that they have, but it's not like they're losing money.
Right. I mean, usually you could declare bankruptcy when you're like losing money.
Yeah, and you have enormous amounts of debtors that you can't, even consider repaying, stuff like that. So they're nowhere even close to that. And I think if they do try to license it out, I think people will be bidding on it. So, David says, will you read Mark Waid Dark Crisis Big Bang? I want to see if Justice League Gods and Monsters will be there and use characters from the canceled sequel. I'm not reading any more Dark Crisis tie-ins. I'm going to read 2 more comic books about Dark Crisis, number 6 and 7. But after reading Young Justice and the Worlds Without a Justice League stuff, I just can't bring myself to do it, Jim.
Yeah, they're not good. And you ended up, the Flash stuff was good, but that was because you ended up having Jeremy Adams just doing his Flash stuff. It wasn't, it was a tie-in, but you ended up having that go with the incorporated deal. Yeah. These tie-ins stink. And overall, one of the biggest problems with this event is the idea of the villain. It's kind of pariah, but then they want to kind of fudge that. And oh my God, it's the Great Darkness, but it's not really. And none of these tie-ins, especially those, Worlds Without a Justice League, make any sense. They don't even fit in with the big event book, and it's bad. And we have these other ones coming up, and Big Bang and nonsense. I think
that's going to be the Damian Wayne side quest with Dr. Light, right?
Yeah. And I'm going to read them, and I'm going to review them. Gabe's probably going to review some of these. They're just nonsense. They really are. And it just ends up getting me more depressed, but I'll be there for it. I'm reading all of them.
Comic says he thinks you have to read this one to know where DC's heading in the future. Now, I know where DC's heading in the future. I don't need to read Big Bang to read it. But
yes.
I can only force myself to read so many comic books that I'm not interested in. Dark Crisis is like, it's better. It's better than Judgment Day by a lot, but it's like,
Yeah. And you want to read the big book. You want to read the event. I mean, they're saying this is the big thing, so you want to read it, but you got to be sensible about it and don't read everything if it's not for you. And I don't know again, this is pretty good for newer readers who aren't fatigued by death metal and everything else metal, all that stuff too.
Ty says, or I guess it's TY, my bad. Batman needs to take over the Titans from Nightwing and whip them into shape. A Titans book might finally sell well if Batman's in it too. I kind of think that would be a good idea, Doc. Batman just comes in there, he's like, you're coddling the children, like kicks him off the team. I think Doc's gone. What do you think about that one, Gabe? Is that a good idea? Batman's like, you won't let me lead the Justice League? I'm taking the Titans.
Well, honestly, no, because I think we've already got too much Batman. So I don't want more Batman in other places. If we're going to keep Nightwing with sort of providing a mentorship or leadership like a headmaster kind of role with the Titans, he's got to get a little tougher. I think he's got to sort of put his Batman hat on when he's whipping them into shape and trying to drive them towards some eventual goal. It can't just be he's there just because he's there. You got to do something with that. Now, if it's not going to be Nightwing, I'd rather see somebody else interesting like
Wally West.
Wally West. How about this? How about because if we're talking about somebody who puts them in a role to train them to prepare for battle, how about Hawkman? How about somebody like Red Tornado, or some lesser used character, but somebody who's got the battle experience.
Roy Harper would be good.
He would be way overbearing. He's died too many times. He's already lost a kid. Yep. You could do some really compelling stuff with that one.
Should have been Teen Titans Academy. They should have been whipping him into shape there.
Yeah, nobody will get a young team's respect better than somebody who's got the smoke and the scars of battle all over him. Because that's the rough and tumble guy that you're intimidated by just by his presence. That's who you want. Nightwing, I'll be honest with you, the current iteration of Nightwing is just too nice. He's just too much of a nice guy.
Call him what he is, Gabe. He's a dandy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to use that word in mixed company. That's just
That's what my grandpa used to call the kids down the street.
So sure, he's a dandy. Okay, we'll call him that. He's a dandy. He's just too nice. He's too nice. I want somebody in there who's going to be like, I want the Full Metal Jacket drill instructor type of guy that's going to come in.
Well, you need to bring in oh my goodness, my favorite Green Lantern, Poozer.
yeah.
Oh, Kilowog.
Kilowog would whip him into shape.
Kilowog would be great. I would love to see that.
Great idea.
He could be their like drill instructor, the one that's out there doing combat training.
Get him, Wildcat, get all those guys together, and just all the hard-nosed guys to whip them into shape would be awesome.
Wildcat, I see Wildcat in the chat. That would be another great one.
Yeah.
I think he
well,
might be
we're
dead
seeing
right
Wildcat in the event.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We haven't seen that character in like 6 years, I think.
It needs to be a big brute type of character who is standing there and constantly with his arms crossed, with a scowl on his face, tapping his foot disappointingly. That's the kind of guy you need to whip him in the exactly.
Frankenstein, get him off.
Yes.
Whip him into shape.
Whip him in the shape.
James Hannafin says multiple Earths is multiple problems. Mo Earths, mo problems. When they brought them back in Infinite Crisis, I said, please no. Elseworlds were just fine and worked. I agree wholeheartedly with that one, Sully. Elseworlds weren't an issue because they weren't in continuity. It kind of separated them. And they didn't need to create this entire construct where they could technically be a part of continuity in the universe themselves. It kind of ruined like the mystique of what Elseworlds were, and then almost like in trying to incorporate them into regular continuity, it's stupid.
I agree. I mean, it was the whole reason for multiverse in the first place was to justify, DC buying the competition and then having them star in their current publication. So you had Earth S for Shazam, and you had the Charlton Earth, and then you had the Quality Earth, and and all the Fawcett characters had their own world outside of Shazam Earth, and but now it's the Elseworlds they were fun. Remember Gotham by Gaslight? Oh my gosh, there was nothing else in the world like that. Batman versus Jack the Ripper, steampunkish. That was fun.
I'm about to watch that cartoon.
Ooh, that's going to be some good.
It's on my HBO Go. I'm gonna have to check
Hey,
that one out.
speaking of all those rings, that I still have all my power rings from that from the giveaways. Remember
Very
back in the
nice.
day? Yes.
I used to have a bag full of them.
Yeah.
All right, Yule, this is what Larry from Larry's Comics has
I
said. I
saw
definitely
that.
want to hear your response. Reports from his peeps at New York Comic Con. They phased out all the regular comic book dealers, and there's mostly just CGC, wall books, and large online variant retailers that are there. He says it's a bad trend. Is that disappointing to you?
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I know, like, firstly, I don't want, it's hard to run a store. It's hard to be successful in comics, regardless of what level of comics you're on. I guess the employees are doing okay if the if the minimum wage is okay for them. But everybody else, it's a struggle. And those covers that people make, I don't want to deny anybody, but I've never felt like I would be successful in doing that, and I've never tried it. And it's possibly sour grapes on my part, but I don't really enjoy it. I've seen others do very well with it. And the wall books is the same thing. CGC, we're talking about comics as a commodity, but not as entertainment. And there's a value to grading your book and never touching it again. But is that really what comic books are for? I mean, I understand if it's like
it's so sad. I understand there's collectors and stuff out there, but I hate to see a perfectly great comic book with a great story never get opened up.
Dude, you're selling something to me from the Philippines, and I don't know if it's going to be a thrash comic, and I'm spending a lot of money for it. CGC makes sense, but getting every freaking book, I mean, from the 1980s, give me a goddamn break. There's so many of those books out there. We don't need to do this. And I mean, I don't know, Larry. I mean, comic book dealers, I have a problem with all of them in some way. But Larry's awesome. He's helped me out quite a bit.
Larry's a great guy.
I like him.
Larry's one of the few people that really loves the channel that man, he busts my balls constantly. I love it. That's what he's there for.
Well, you know what?
That's how you know he's your buddy, right? You bust
Right.
your balls whether he agrees with you or not.
I mean, I feel like I'm like Larry. Like, we both like comic books, and maybe stuff isn't so good, but there are diamonds out there. There's something you should be paying attention to. And you know what? If someone likes Batman, they like Batman. There's plenty of shit for them right now. and it's all about, if you're a store and you got to sell yourself as an owner to the people. I have people come, we congregate, we have a real great conversation, usually on Wednesdays. But, there's other days of the week, and I have really impactful conversations that are mostly about comic books, but, sometimes it's like the show. I love it. That's why this show is one of the best. Boom.
Well, thanks, buddy. We've also got Chuck Skills in the house. He says Blackest Night even had great tie-ins. How cool was Zombie Earth 2 Superman coming after the Kents, and Clark and Connor had to team up to defeat him? We need exciting tie-ins like this. Absolutely, Sully. I love a really great tie-in. Actually, Dark Knight's Metal, the first one, the tie-ins were better than the regular book, especially like Dawnbreaker, the Red Death. The Batman Who Laughs is still pretty good by that point. Like all those tie-ins were almost felt like must read, even bigger than the actual series.
I have to go back and get that Superboy Prime issue. I'm a huge fan of Superboy Prime. He's my favorite heel. But yeah, I love it. Seriously, yeah. But
all the old timers hated that when he busted out of his time prison.
Oh man, I love
Punch
him.
reality.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, right in the face.
So I loved his Blackest Night tale as well. He gets everything he wanted, but at a price. That was a great horror movie, kind of that like a horror movie. It's got that twist right at the end,
horror genie vibe to it. Oh, you can get your wish.
Yeah. Now here's Lori back, but she's wearing a Black Lantern ring because you killed her, you murderer. So Blackest Night. I think that Blackest Night, for me personally, was the last event series that had the most satisfying tie-ins. Because I'm a sucker for buying like all the tie-ins. Like, dude, like Countdown to Infinite Crisis. I bought every single week and every
I need more customers like you.
They'll search for Ray
Well, the thing
Palmer.
is
Countdown.
Gabe, the way
Yeah.
they plan these things out are completely different. They build up for an entire year to Crisis on Infinite Earths. Everything in every title was moving towards a singular moment to where it was like this mind-blowing thing no matter what you had been reading. You can tell these things are all like off the they're just like cookie cutter bull crap. It's just, oh, we have a spot on the calendar for an event. Who's doing the event? Okay, we're going to do a Green Lantern event. And you never like build up to it except for maybe 2 or 3 issues.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the biggest criticisms of Dark Crisis, which is self-evident. Is if you go back to Crisis on Infinite Earths, go back to 0 Hour, go back to Blackest Night, go back to all these other events where they had a major impact on the titles and the lines that are currently on the shelf. Is there was a buildup. There was little adjustments to the titles, little things that were hinting that some big thing was coming, and then when the event hit, you had the main title, and then you had all the tie-in books, and it was all kind of moving towards a destination. Everybody was gathered and pointing at some spot in the future. Dark Crisis has none of that. None of it. You have some tie-in books that are sort of tangential and awful and inconsequential to what's going on in the main title, but there was no build-up other than it was announced. And then what was the reaction when it was first announced? Everybody was saying
Frontier and Justice League Incarnate were the only things that led into it truly.
Yeah, but how many people were reading that? How many people were reading those? How many people were reading those? You need to pepper them into the main titles.
Yeah.
You need to build up hype from the different corners of the universe to gather people towards that direction so that they start hearing the whispers. They start building the hype and the buzz. You had none of that here.
I don't think editorial. I think maybe Marvel is pulling it off somewhat, but with their Judgment Day. But that's not great necessarily. But DC, I don't know if they have the editorial to like get that. Remember when like 52 was coming out? You're like, there's no way they're going to be able to pull this off. Every week the same, the book with all these people. Well, they did, and that was amazing. But
for
I
a
don't
while,
think they could. Well, I mean, 52 did really well. Overall. But I don't think they could pull off even just like, having something sprinkled throughout the universe and all the different books, for a couple months ahead of time.
Right. That's what we heard way back when is that Josh Williamson, he wasn't getting any of the editorial support, that basically he had to pull this thing along kicking and screaming by the teeth to get it done. And now the results, now he's bearing that fruit. I'm not putting it on him because this is a whole team of people. But if you don't have any experience and you don't have all the buy-in and all the support to pull off a big event like this, you're just not going to be able to do it by sheer force of will. It doesn't work that way. And so what was the first reaction when people said that Justice League is dead? Everybody had the same reaction.
He'll be back.
The eyes were rolling. Oh, here we go again. Oh, we know it's not going to stick. It's all these other things. And you had no hint of it in the other titles.
Right. I saw somebody mention in chat that they don't think Williamson's a good writer, and I gotta fight back a little on that. I think he is a very good writer. He's done creator-owned stuff that you can check out over at Image, and his Flash was pretty good, quite a bit redundant. But I always blame the 2 a month kind of situation. You're not going to get like the greatest storytelling all the time.
I didn't like his journey where he's meeting all the other people that had like
the speed force power,
kinetic forces and stuff.
Yeah,
the
strength force.
That's when I
well, remember at the
I
end,
dug that a bit.
At the end, he just came back. Barry came back and said, "I couldn't figure it out," and it just ended. A lot of his stories in Flash just kind of fell flat by the end of these arcs. That was my biggest problem with him in that run.
The end of his run was great, though.
I liked Flash War and then things from that even, and that was, right in the middle. But some of the things were good, but he couldn't stick the landing on a lot of things, and that's a problem. I mean, especially when you're doing a big event deal when you have 2 issues left.
Right. Wade Kramer asked, so after Dark Crisis, are Cassie and Sissy's characters doomed? They have been made to be very off-putting and unlikable. I don't think Sissy's character really has a future in the DC Comics universe anyway. Arrowhead has pretty much been replaced a couple of times by this. And Cassie, to an extent, has been replaced as Wonder Girl. But I think they're going to put those characters in the vault and probably leave them there for quite some time. That book has been truly awful. We've also got What's up?
I was just going to say, if Megan Fitzmartin's writing them, they're doomed. If somebody else comes in and they have something else, then they could be good again. But I think Arrowhead's done.
Yeah. HH from Sigma Comics. Shout out to Sensei E. Sensei E, you're Japanese now, Sully?
I'm what? I'm a
He called you
sensei.
Sensei
Maybe
E?
it's the Bruce Lee motif.
Yeah.
That would be Seifu.
Doc, Gabe, and the rest of the gang, keep it tuned to Thinking Critical and support these great comic book experts. Sigma Comics versus Reed Pop continues. Some toe-to-toe action. Please share Hex email. So I read the email. It sounds like there were some protesters outside of New York Comic Con, and the president of Reed Pop, who was going into the building, had a little bit of a confrontation with HH. There might have been about a 15-minute face-to-face debate on whether or not what Reed Pop was doing to Sigma Comics was right. I don't believe they're going to be allowed into this year's New York Comic Con, but after the argument that apparently ensued outside, they shook hands, and the president of Reed Pop said, "We look forward to seeing Sigma Comics at Reed Pop events in the future."
All right.
Will that work out in the long term? Will they honor that? I'm not really sure, but it sounds like he made his point, and potentially there's going to be a positive outcome.
Well, I mean, if it didn't come to blows and they shook hands, that's pretty good.
Well, he's pretty lucky he didn't come to blows.
Yeah,
HH
that would've been
is
a
a
short
professional
debate.
boxer
That
and
would've been a short
MMA
debate.
fighter. That would be a
Well,
bad idea.
well, you know, I mean,
I've seen that Fensterman guy. He's probably last time he lifted a weight was never. You know what I mean? He'd probably barely pick up a pencil.
well, I mean, what I'm saying is, you know, you could address this situation with some confrontation, and there already is when a person's walking to go somewhere. But to actually leave the conversation and shake hands, that's a pretty good thing.
So thank you very much to the guys at Sigma Comics. I'm disappointed it didn't work out for this year's New York Comic Con. Hopefully it works out for next year's New York Comic Con, especially. But in the future, you're able to go out to the Reed Pop events and let everyone know about your comic books. I think what happened was kind of was gross, I think is a good way to put it. We've also got Lade Kramer. Speaking of, if Peter David sent an email to Megan Fitzmartin, what do you think that email would look like? If he could even possibly know, mind you. What do you think, Doc? Would Peter David like Megan Fitzmartin's Young Justice?
He would send it in pictograms because I'm pretty sure she can't read. It would be
say,
pictures.
Megan, you ignorant slut.
I think it would be more along the lines of, Megan, you suck. Go away.
All right.
Unless nobody under 40 gets it.
No, Peter.
No one
David
got
would
that
be-
joke. It was great.
I
did.
got it, but it wasn't.
Jane.
I got it.
Like one of the funniest jokes in the history of television.
Thank you.
It's
Dan.
because
Great
of
one.
the it's a 2-syllable name. It just doesn't work if you got a 1-syllable it.
Oh,
It's just a thing. I don't know why.
I bet Peter David doesn't care.
No, Peter David doesn't care because Peter David has
He knows
nothing
his
to
Young
do with-
Justice is Young Justice, and her Young Justice will be forgotten.
And
Yes.
he's always a company man also. Don't forget that.
Well, he's an asshole.
Right,
Yeah.
but Megan Fitzmartin's Tim Drake will live on forever.
Infamy, yeah. Infamy will do that.
He's and you know, Peter David was one of the first like out vocal like feminists in you know, male feminists in Hollywood or in comics. So basically,
Maybe he'd say she was doing a good job.
he'd probably be like, yeah, this is exactly what I always wanted to do. Meanwhile, he's sitting there going, Jesus Christ, this bitch sucks.
James Hannafin says, curious to know the panel's favorite DC D-list character. Mine was Will Payton's Starman. Man, Starman's great.
Wow.
There's a great James Robinson run that everyone
Yeah.
should read on that one.
Mhm.
Do we consider Firestorm D-list?
You bite your
Yes.
tongue. You bite your
Probably
tongue.
I
C,
love
really.
Firestorm. I
C.
think
He's an A-lister
Firestorm
for
is a
me.
great character, but I
Yeah.
don't think he can carry a solo title. Maybe a miniseries.
can't.
Well, it depends on
Well,
who he
there-
is.
there's
Depends
only-
on. Sorry, go.
there's only 2 A-list DC characters, and it's
Yeah, we're
Batman
talking
and
about D-list
Superman.
characters, Doc.
I know. So
Firestorm D-list.
yes, yes,
Firestorm.
because
Then-
yes,
yeah.
Unless you consider Hawkman D-list, and then it's Hawkman.
Hawkman would also be D-list.
He's carried it ongoing at least 3 times.
So's Firestar,
No, those are all
Fire-
miniseries.
No,
No,
Firestorm's had.
Firestorm has
he
had
had an
at
ongoing.
least 2 or 3 ongoing series.
Yeah, he did. Ronnie Raymond one. Yeah.
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 Also, I
All
think
right.
this is the other Starman. Just to let you know. The
What's
one
yours?
I
What's
didn't
your
read.
favorite D-list DC character?
Probably, and I'm going to say it because I'm going to let you know how old I am in
Blue
saying
Beetle.
it. Changeling. There
Nice.
you go. There you go.
Oh, the original Beast Boy,
That's right.
Mhm.
Marv Wolfman days.
Well, he was Beast Boy before that, but
Mhm.
now he became Changeling.
Well, he's changeling
Beast
on
Boy.
Doom Patrol, right? I think he was.
I don't know.
Mm,
I don't
No,
know that
he
they
was
call him
on
by his
that?
code name. I think they
Yeah,
just
that's where he was
changed-
introduced. Was in Doom Patrol, right?
Oh, I thought you meant the television show.
no, I'm talking about the comic book.
I get confused these days.
Yeah,
No, in Doom Patrol he was Beast Boy, I think,
oh, well, I made
and
a
then he
mistake
New
there.
Teen Titans. It was Changeling.
Mhm.
Anyway, that's really long for a D-list character.
Very nice, Sully. What's your D-list favorite?
My favorite D-list character is Garth Ennis's Hitman, Tommy Monahan, and his supporting cast.
Very
That's
nice.
definitely a D-list.
It's
book.
Fun. Running around the DCU with scissors. That was Hitman. Because that was all canon
like
too.
Scissor Party.
Dude, I'm not
This is a ring.
not scissor ring, like a small. Imagine a small child running around the room with something sharp in their hands. You know, that's like, put that down. You
All
know?
right, Doc. Who's your D-lister?
I think I'd have to go spoiler. I just like Stephanie Brown.
She's a Z-lister, but I like the balls on you.
She's
I like the moxie.
she's much loved by a segment of the DC crowd out there, and I just never understood it.
Yeah, I don't get it either.
Maybe it was her upbringing. She was supposed to. She was supposed to have been a villain.
All right,
Or-
guys.
I mean, it's cool.
Let's
You know
keep-
what?
We got to keep moving. We got to keep
Sorry.
moving. Jim, who's your D-lister?
Probably Metal Men. I
Very
get
nice.
a kick out of
That's
them,
good.
and they're pretty D-list.
And did we get yours, Gabe?
It would be a toss-up between the Creeper and Blue Devil.
Very nice. I thought we were going to get an Adam sighting in there, but no one went with it. So that was great. Thank you to everyone for supporting the channel. There's a bunch of weird stuff going on YouTube with monetization right now, so I really appreciate that one. But we had something interesting happen in the MCU at Marvel Studios. We have seen Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock in the MCU, but we haven't seen him as Daredevil. He pretty much makes his debut. We get the yellow suit and all that good stuff here, Gabe. You liked this episode of She-Hulk. How good
I
was
did.
it?
I think it's one of the better, if not one of the best episodes of the series so far. Not because Daredevil was in it. I mean, that's definitely a plus. And I like the original Daredevil run on Netflix. I thought that was a great show. D'Onofrio's depiction of Kingpin was fantastic. I like that.
Great.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
great in that. I don't like how they changed him for the Hawkeye show on Disney Plus. I think they toned it down too much, or just kind of warped him a little bit too much. But Charlie Cox here is pretty much the same Charlie Cox from Netflix. They changed the costume to that sort of brownish red overall with the yellow sleeves. I didn't mind it. I mean, it's a little weird, but I didn't mind it. And the tone of the episode was much better. It wasn't like slapsticky, jokey, hey, look how funny we are with jokes that aren't funny. It was more of a mix of lightness and action at the same time that worked for the tone of what the show should have been. I think if the rest of the series was like this episode, which is episode 8, I think if the rest of the series had the same tone and the right mix of humor and action and heart and everything else, we'd be having a much different conversation about She-Hulk right now as a series for Disney Plus. I think they waited way too long to kind of get to achieve that atmosphere. Now that they got it, which is great, but the rest of you took 7 episodes to get there, and that's a crying shame. I like this episode a lot. It just had that right mix of and the chemistry between Charlie Cox and Tatiana Maslany was great. You can definitely feel kind of that energy and that electricity between them, and they pulled it off really well. I think the one thing that really people are kind of losing their minds about from a negative critique standpoint is Daredevil doing that walk of shame after their night together. I thought it was kind of dumb. It didn't need to be there. So I get why people are just irritated by it. But honestly, it's happened so quick that it really doesn't make a big deal for the rest of the episode. And I don't think it really. Some people are like, well, MCU broke Daredevil. You know, he's ruined now. That's over. I mean, if you're going down that route, you're overstating it. The problem. Was it dumb and kind of silly? Yeah, it was kind of. And it doesn't make sense. Why is he walking down the middle of the sidewalk in the morning, still in his costume? Like, why would, especially since you've already taken it off, why don't you just put some civilian clothes back on and just put it in a bag or something? It was kind of dumb. It was kind of silly. Didn't need to be there. But does it break the character? No. Has he? I mean, he's had. If you're going by the comics, he's had sex with tons of women. So
yes, exactly.
It's not like he's some kind of Catholic prude. That is absolutely.
Oh no, that's why he goes to confession all the time.
Yes,
exactly.
Jeez.
Matt Murdock is not a Catholic prude. So if you're getting all bent out of shape about that, you're barking up the wrong tree.
Yeah, I saw a lot of posts from all sorts of people about the different times that Matt Murdock has been going out there philandering, if you will.
Yeah. Matt might be Matt's really good for the Catholic guilt part, not so much the chastity part. That man's a fucking whore.
That guy, I tell you, he probably doesn't masturbate though. So
no, he doesn't have to. He's getting busy every goddamn weekend with some.
So we
other
know
chick.
he can. We know he can like touch dollar bills and know what how much they are by
you can feel the
ink. Fibers.
Yeah,
exactly. Now, up until the moment that he's like, manipulating someone's face, he doesn't know what these ladies look like, and he always scores 10s.
Yeah, like Ray Charles did too. He would feel the wrists.
Well,
but you know why?
And he still wore that horrible first outfit.
Do you know why? Because he can also smell the hooker perfume on half of the dollar bills.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody should be mad about kind of the whole, I won't say slut shaming, but just like that kind of, it's She-Hulk, it's Jennifer Walters, it's her character, because her sexual escapades have been very inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
First, she kind of goes out with a guy that she met on Tinder, and she sleeps with him the first night. Then she meets the Josh guy, who turns out to be a villain.
Mm-hmm.
But she waits like 3 or 4 dates before she invites him in. Now she's with Matt Murdock, who she just met literally just a couple hours prior to.
Uh-huh.
So her sexual preferences are all over the map.
So it's true, but even in the comic books, because like I know Doc can attest to this, her best hookup was when she was hanging out with Juggernaut, right?
Oh, when she was banging Juggernaut.
Yeah.
Although apparently that is out of continuity now.
Well, how is that out of continuity?
I have no fucking clue.
That doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make any goddamn sense. But she was banging the Juggernaut for a while. That's a perfect match.
I tell you what, as much as I hate Chuck Austin, and like a lot of that X-Men run I couldn't stand. All the stuff that he did with Juggernaut I thought was great.
Except for Sammy the Fish Boy. Fuck
no,
that
I
dude.
even like the Fish Boy.
Yeah, and I see the comments online, and I see a couple of people in chat and saying this. If you think this She-Hulk series as a whole, not just this one episode, but as a whole, is a perfect translation of John Byrne's run, you have a memory lapse that needs medical attention.
Mm-hmm.
There is
Larry
no
said.
There is no. I think Larry's trolling. I think he's trolling. I might be wrong about that.
I told you he loves stuff.
There is no way you read John Byrne's run and watch his show and say, oh, it's like the comic come to life. No way. No way. Byrne, for all his personality quirks, I'm just going to be generous about that, had a sense of humor. He had a sense of timing, and he knew how to kind of work those meta jokes in there that worked. There has been, I can count on one hand the number of jokes in this show that actually landed and actually worked.
You know what?
No way the two are the same.
There is one joke that if they do at the end will land. And that's whenever, after all these terrible failed relationships over the course of an 8-episode season, she says all men are trash, and somebody tells her, well, nobody told you to try them fucking all. Yeah, ho.
Yes, that'd be great. I would like that.
Yeah. So no, look,
is there Wyatt Wingfoot? Has he shown up yet?
Ooh,
I would love that. That's
great.
actually my favorite Jen Walters relationship, if you will.
That's a good one. That's a great one. Thanks for reminding me about Wyatt.
I love
Wingfoot.
those Byrne issues.
Oh yeah.
We lost Gabe.
He left.
He didn't like what I was about to say.
Oh my goodness, the Irish.
He wasn't even filibustering or anything.
Yep.
I don't know why you kicked him out.
They were yelling at him in the chat. I think he bailed.
Oh no!
They were not.
Larry loves
we
She-Hulk.
had the
He thinks
coolest
that's his
chat.
favorite MCU movie or show.
Favorite all time, he said.
He's
That's what he said
digging
to
it.
me. Here he's back.
Yeah.
Not Gabe. I was talking about Larry from Larry's Comics. He says She-Hulk's the one.
Yeah,
Mhm.
he's loving it in chat. He's stirring it up.
I think
Yeah,
he's
I
just
think he's
playing
trolling.
heel.
I think
Dude, I don't
a
know.
heel turn.
I
saw
I
the
think
first
he
episode, and I was
I
not
think-
happy with it.
I think he's just got a bunch more She-Hulk comics he's got to sell.
Dude, I wouldn't doubt that.
I love-
I'll tell you
love
what. I'll tell you
Larry.
what. This week, the trade for She-Hulk came out. The Rainbow Rowell stuff. So he's probably got a bunch of those sitting on the shelf too, or a table. You know.
Man, okay, now this is slightly off topic on this, but
Or is that
at
next
what
week?
point is Marvel actually going to time the creation of the publishing of their trade paperbacks for before the fucking show launches?
Yeah.
Dude,
That's an interesting.
I could say that about a lot of things. DC's fallen asleep a lot of
Yeah.
times, and it's not
DC
even
rarely has
because
a book out when something comes out.
Yeah, I mean they used to have their shit together, and that wasn't that long ago. I really enjoyed it mostly in like 2000 to 2008. I like DC and the way they published a lot more, but it just happens, dude. You can't just get those printers up and moving, even though they have the
They
stuff ready
know-
to go.
They
Yeah.
know that it's coming for like a
Yeah,
year.
you're right.
Jesus
You're
Christ.
right, and like
It wasn't produced in fucking secret. It's not like
because
when they did that, like the third Blair Witch movie where they were advertising it as something else, and then when you went to the theater, you're like, oh fuck, I'm watching a Blair Witch movie.
right.
Or whatever, you went to go see Split and you didn't realize it was a sequel to Unbreakable. It's not a fucking surprise. Everyone in the company knows, hey, by the way, we're making a She-Hulk TV show and it will be out in somewhere more than a year from now. So, hey, let's just collect a bunch of shit and get it printed and have it ready to go and launch to the bookstores so that whenever the show comes out, we have something to fucking sell.
What do you mean? Are you a retailer, Doc? Oh my goodness.
No, he's right.
Comic
there.
Warrior says that Daredevil didn't take a walk of shame. He got laid. Can you take that? The getting laid part is part of the walk of shame. If you don't know what this is, the walk of shame is like when you're in a frat house and you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I got to go home. And you pick up your shoes and you walk out and like all the guys look at you or something.
Yes.
That's exactly what happens in the episode. He's taking the walk of shame.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Or
think everything
imagine-
they did with Daredevil made sense and it kind of works for the character. But then they decided they were like going to make fun of him while he was walking away for a joke.
I saw somebody say it better than that. They said he's not taking a walk of shame. He's taking a stride of pride.
It's
Kind of
no, it's
pride.
called a victory lap.
I like that.
A victory lap.
Well, you can
That's
say
good.
whatever you want, but in the show, that's not what they're presenting.
Right.
They're
Well,
trying to make him look stupid.
They're
Well,
trying to.
there's
They're
that,
trying
but
to
there's-
take it back.
But there's
You
also
know.
this part of it too. That part, what they keep reinforcing during the show is that Jennifer Walters is sort of like this sort of downtrodden sad sack. Like she doesn't have that self-esteem. She doesn't have that confidence,
Mhm.
and that she feels that confidence through being She-Hulk. Like they're two
Right.
separate people. But Tatiana Maslany is not an ugly person.
No, she's wicked
She's
cute.
cute.
No.
She's
Yeah,
got
yeah.
personality. She's spunky. She's
Well-
engaging.
Well, who did Matt
There are
hook
a lot
up
of
with?
guys that would be happy to be with her. So they're trying to sell something that the audience can't mentally kind of get behind because it doesn't make sense.
Well, it's the whole thing. It's the writers in that room thinking that they're super clever. We're gonna flip the script and do the guy walking home in that everybody's looking at. First of all, they pick a blind guy that can't see everybody
Aw.
looking at him because he can't see everyone. All eyes on him because he's blind. And second, it doesn't work for men because men don't have shit. I mean, unless it was a fat girl, you don't have a fat. It's not a tricycle. Fun to ride, but you don't want your friends to see you.
Doc, we're not talking about the real world. We're talking about the perspective of the show.
I know.
They're clearly trying to make the character look stupid, and he's
Yes.
a big part of the future of the MCU. That's not a very good
No,
move to do.
it's not. But it also just doesn't work. It can't work from a narrative perspective because that's not men and women are not exactly the same in that way. They're
Doc,
you know,
it's clear when they fucking did it what they were doing, and it did work because everyone saw it and noticed it. It was effective.
Yeah.
Whether you think you have shame or not, you are not every man out there, right?
I fail to see how it works. It looked like they were attempting it, and it just failed.
Well, why did everyone on social media notice it and be like, "Hey, I see what you did there"?
Because other than making Daredevil, never mind.
It makes him look kind of. It makes him look kind of lame. I mean, it's a joke. It's what She-Hulk is, as far as I can base it on one episode.
Well, does Jen beat
it
Matt?
works for Daredevil. The guy is a hoe. Like,
yeah, well, I
that's
mean,
his,
he
like,
is.
walking
It's weird
women.
walking out. I mean, I didn't see it, but walking in his costume, it's a little strange, But whatever. Like he was fighting crime all night.
Remember when they took comic
you're
book
fighting
stories
crime.
seriously back in the day? Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Comic books seriously?
Yeah, when they did serious comic book movies like X-Men, X2, Blade.
I remember that, but I also loved
Batman
Adam West
Begins.
Batman. Growing up.
In fairness, every single one of those was embarrassed that they were a comic book movie too by refusing to put them in a comic book costume.
Yeah, for sure.
And they were all made by all produced by David Goyer, who is embarrassed to do comic books because he just wants the end. The ultimate end of any David Goyer movie is in a movie filmed entirely in the dark with no lights on, everyone wearing black at night in the rain, and you can't see fucking anything. Because
that's what DC
even in Tim Burton,
anyway.
I say that Adam West is goofy and all, but at least he doesn't take off his mask. I can name every movie that's Batman. He takes his mask off all the time, starting with
not
Tim
Judge Dredd. That was the good one.
He does in the first Judge Dredd. He also exactly. Spider-Man takes off his mask in the first freaking movie. Everybody in New York knows what he looks like.
All three of them.
It's like all the Avengers or Captain America movies. Everybody knows who everybody is, or you see their face.
So did he hook up with Jen or She-Hulk, Gabe?
It was Jen. He hooked up with Jen, not She-Hulk.
I'll tell you, after watching Avatar, I would have gone for She-Hulk.
I'm fine either way. Look, the show, I think is unapologetically written for wine moms. That's what it's written for.
Right.
There are exactly two script writers on the show. I went through the credits. There are two, and an executive producer whose name one of the executive producers is Zeb Wells. So if you're reading the current American Amazing Spider-Man run, you know that his writing ability kind of goes up and down. And
I don't know. That didn't sound near the same.
Cody Ziegler's writing.
The two script writers.
Is he really?
The only two credited script writers on the show for every episode so far are Dana Schwartz, who everybody remember when the show started filming was like, all men are trash kind of person and no real credit to her name. The second script writer is Cody Ziegler. The only two big Marvel credits that Cody Ziegler has as a writer. He did the Spider-Man Beyond issues, in particular the one with the talking sandwiches, which was a big hit with everybody, I'm sure. And the only time he's done his own solo book was Spider-Punk.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah.
Which was awful. And the next book he has coming up is Miles Morales. He's going to be the writer.
More
of
trash.
Right.
Done.
So Dana Schwartz and Cody Ziegler are the only two scriptwriters on that show. So it is no wonder that the comedy is terrible, that the plotting is terrible, that the pacing is terrible. The focus of who this show is for is all over the map. There's no surprise there. So when people get mad at it, it's like, why isn't this more like me? Why isn't this like the She-Hulk that I knew from Burns' run? This is not like Burns' run. I'm sorry. If you think that is, you have grossly misremembered what Burns' run was like. It is not the same. And you have to look at who's writing the show. It's two people who have very little understanding of what it takes to write a successful Marvel comic. And these are the people who are writing the show. So
you got to stop getting people that work outside the industry working. That's this Cody Ziegler. I'm like looking him up, and he has no.
Cody Ziegler,
Rick and Morty.
I can never find anything.
Yeah, all of those are not comic books.
Cody Ziegler and Zeb Wells are both cast-offs from the Robot Chicken writers.
Yeah, I saw the Robot Chicken bit too.
Oh, so
if I didn't know about Zeb Wells back in like early 2000s, I would have been like, I read his comics then, and they were all right. but
Hellions
so
is
like I
great.
was okay with him now. Pardon me.
Is that Hellions is the
Hellions
only
good.
Hellions is the only
Yeah.
actually good thing
Mhm.
that Zeb Wells has ever written. The
He's the
things that
executive
I
producer. He's not
the
the
thing-
writer.
the things that I remember Zeb Wells for were New Warriors, where they became reality TV
Mhm.
stars that ended up leading into the
Civil War.
first Civil War.
Yes.
But the miniseries that from like a year prior that failed, that had Scotty Young on art, which was actually, the art was great, but the story was very mediocre. And also from his very mediocre New Mutants run during around the beginning of like the Utopia era.
Yeah, he's doing Spider-Man now. I fell off of it. I can't read it
I dig
anymore. It was
Spider-Man. I'm
just- it wasn't
enjoying
very
it.
good.
The character work on
whatever.
Spider-Man for the villains in particular was very good. I love what he did with Tombstone. But the,
Oh
but the-
yeah, all that
but the-
Tombstone stuff's great.
yeah, but the plot
Yeah.
of the arc where he did that big
I
wow
don't care
moment,
about that.
he completely dropped. He's violating like half the tenets of basic storytelling.
Wait,
So-
you mean as far as like the storytelling in the Tombstone story?
The 6
No, no,
months
I'm talking about
prior, there
overall.
was a big,
Big explosion in
Oh
Pennsylvania.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mary Jane
Where he
was
went
Yeah,
out
that
to-
I'm
she's got
I'm
3
I'm
kids
letting all
now.
that stuff go. I'm okay with it, because either he gets to it and it lands, or he ignores it, and I never have to think about it.
I mean, the stuff with Mary Jane has to be resolved. And it
I
has-
No, I
demand
hate her. Get her out of
I
there.
demand better. You can't.
I
How could you
demand that
say
she
that about Kirsten Dunst, man. It's like not cool. You?
I demand that they write Sean King out of this comic book, though.
Oh shit.
Oh,
We'll
I
find
just-
out he's somebody, or
Go
you
back
know,
to my
that's the
happy
chameleon fucking shit up. You know.
No, it's going to be the Rose.
All right. There you go.
I thought the
Whatever.
Rose was already
Kirsten
in prison.
Dunst is the greatest MJ that ever lived. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Character.
She
Yeah,
still looks like
sure.
a foot.
Oh,
Yeah,
This is a recurring conversation.
Yes, it is.
she's the best.
This and fast food joints.
Mhm.
All right, well, let's see what the fans have had to say. Let's see what the viewers fans. I don't have fans. I got viewers. We're friends. What are fans? What a weird thing to say.
Family.
Man,
We're family.
Mi
Goblin
gente.
says, if I was Peter David, I would say to Megan, you're not moving forward. You're moving backwards because you care about your own privileges more than writing good. Yeah, basically, she just takes a dump on his entire run and then all comic fans from the 90s.
She doesn't know he wrote that.
Well, she probably doesn't, but I mean,
I don't think
she
she
seems to
read
be
it.
pretty purposely dumping on everything that happened in that era.
Oh,
Meg-
is she? I
Megan-
don't know that. I just
Megan
don't read it.
Fitzmartin is not Megan Fitzmartin's fault. I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, it makes sense. I
She
get
followed
it.
the right path. She followed the right path. Where did she really kind of come to everybody's attention? Is when she started writing short stories in the was it Batman Urban Legends? I think is where, because she wrote
She
that
wrote the
first.
Tim Drake.
She
story.
wrote the coming out story for Tim Drake.
And she
and
wrote the Tim Drake series in Future State.
Right. That's
Yeah.
exactly how it should happen. Is you should do like little short, like 1-2 minis, or do the short stories and anthologies. You get your feet wet. You get your foundation going. You kind of learn your voice. And then you get put on your own titles. And
But the
then
thing-
once you mature to a point, then you go forward.
When they
just-
all suck, though, they need to stop
right,
it.
when
before
they
it
all
gets
suck,
bad.
that means you need to go back to the minors. They
Yeah.
need to take you out of the majors,
I mean,
push you
she-
minors until you're ready for
When
it.
you were
got
trying to
the
break
rotation.
into comics back in the day, you were supposed to write a story
Right.
that would be, a comic book length story. You just give a synopsis of it, and the content in there was that your superhero needs to get to the other side of the book, and it has to be entertaining, but nothing can change that character in any way. So what's her first freaking thing she does? Well, someone's entire sexuality is different than before. Like, everybody is allowed to come in and immediately change everything that was that thing that made that character, what that character was. Or I'm going to kill off one of their side characters. And, that's something that an Ed Brubaker should be allowed to do, not someone on their first freaking story or second story or even second book. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I got $10 says that Megan Fitzmartin basically has about 10 times as many credits on like AOA as she does that doing slash fic, and most of her shit is slash fic from there that is now getting turned into, she's just translating into
Well, that might be
comic
true.
scripts.
I mean, that might be. And I mean, if you've got stories that you want to write and you get to do them on these characters, that's great. But that's not how it used to be. Firstly, being a writer in comics, you're not going to get that job. As Chris Claremont's doing 4 books. John Byrne's writing and drawing these books over here, and on and on and on. And if you get lucky, that's the way you're going to do it, unless you have an artist friend and they get in another way. But you still can't screw around with the characters. You have to leave it the way it is beforehand, going forward for the next person. But very rarely do you get a Daredevil situation.
Let him finish up. We gotta go to the
very
next
rarely
one.
do you get that Daredevil situation where one writer says, well, I'm going to leave, or the other one says, I'll leave it where you got it. I'll pick it up. That type of thing.
Yeah. Cal Miles says, congrats to Doomcock. Also, this is not She-Hulk. It's a self-insert of a bunch of single women who hate their lives that sniff cat pee. So I guess Doomcock is supposedly like the villain, I guess, in She-Hulk.
Yes, because honestly, because he's the only one. He's the only YouTuber that has
like a super
unique
villain.
A unique identity that you could draw in a Doug Ernst, you could draw in an Ethan, you could draw in you draw in, I don't know, you can't really draw in me, so fuck you. You could draw in Yule, you could draw in
all right, we get it, Doc.
Anybody, but nobody would know who the hell it was. Nobody would know who the hell it was. Like, at least Doomcock has a unique appearance because of the mask thing that everybody would recognize. So it was now it's equally just cringy as fuck, and like seriously, it's stupid.
Weird that anyone at Disney Plus would know who Doomcock is.
Oh, they know who all of us are. They're just because they are.
Oh, Cody Ziegler knows.
They have files on us. Because we're on lists.
It's a bunch of narcissists that name search themselves and watch, and then just decide that we are terrible people because we make fun of them. So next time Dan Slott does it, lick my balls.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Ideator says the tone was great. Humor was actually funny. Chemistry off the charts and pacing was great. Stupid criticism. People need to play.
Yeah, I see a lot of people complaining about this latest episode, and definitely there are things to nitpick. The ending with the whole revenge porn thing, where they like kind of post her sex tape online or whatever it is they were posting, and some of that other stuff. Yeah, that just sort of came out of nowhere, and I don't know why you would introduce like the big bad kind of secret organization out to get her at the end of the penultimate episode. What have you been doing for the last 7 episodes? Why would you introduce that at the very end of that episode? I get it. They were trying to find a way to justify She-Hulk raging out, like she loses control of her anger at the episode, and that's supposed to be some kind of teachable moment where she goes into the next episode and maybe she says, yeah, I really did lose my anger. Yeah, I do need some help. Bruce, can you help me out? Maybe that's a moment that they're going for. I don't know. We'll see. But to wait this long in the series to kind of put that in was kind of dumb. But everything else around that, I thought was fine. Again, it's not perfect. It's by no stretch of the imagination the best Disney Plus thing out there. Actually, there's a much better one, which I'll talk about at the end. Yeah, I mean, of all the episodes so far, I thought this was the best. Now that's comparatively speaking, but I thought it was the best of the bunch. People just need a reason to complain about Daredevil. That's fine, but yeah, it wasn't that big deal.
Cal Lyle says Wyatt Wingfoot is the perfect match. Jessica Gao and Dan Slott are exactly alike. They both hate everyone. And YouTubers, which says something. People really hate YouTubers? I don't get it. They're so nice people.
Some people do. I don't understand.
I think it's an easy target for deflection.
Yeah. Whatever. Maybe it's like...
is Jessica Gao the Dan Slott of the MCU? It's not cool. Nobody wants to be that title. But he might be right. Common sense. The She-Hulk giving into online criticism doesn't make them the bigger person. You just give oxygen to the fire, and making those are right and losing in respect.
This is a lot of people are talking about negativity, and that's a way of marketing your product. And
Aaron calls it fantagonism.
Fantagonism is a beautiful word. And
fan baiting's the other one.
They
Fan
do
baiting.
it. They do it pre,
Nice.
during, and post. You know, they can complain about someone for hating something and then not seeing it later on. You know, and all this other stuff. I think it's true. I mean, I talk about it at home. I mean, it's actually talked to me about it at home. And it's the conversation in the comic store quite often. And yeah, I believe in it. Fantagonism. I like that.
They need to do it. They do it before. Well, actually, they do it before a show if they know that they have a piece of shit. They do it during if they're recognizing, oh shit, this sucks. And they do it after to excuse making a piece of shit.
Right. It's like when you take your portfolio to an artist at the comic convention, and then you before they open it say, I know my perspective's a little off. You don't say that. You don't ever mention what your problem is up front.
Yes.
And that's what they're doing here. They're like, hey, I know there's going to be some racists that don't like this program, but you know.
Yeah, it's the pre-skews.
Yeah.
Rings of Power did the same thing.
No, all of them do it. Everything
All the Star Wars shows are doing it too now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything that when they make something because they know that they just completely deviated from the source material, they're like, oh, fuck, everybody. The people that we need to like this, to evangelize for it, are going to fucking hate it. Well, let's just go call them racists.
Well, and it doesn't work when someone's
it was, but
it
did for a couple of years from like 2013 to like 2016. It sort of worked as a marketing ploy.
It still makes the headlines, you know.
It makes headlines, but even the media is just kind of, they're like, yeah, we got all right. We'll write the headline, but we're not gonna support it that much, and we'll give it 2 days, and then we'll just forget about it.
I think everybody gets it. Gal Miles says, also, Shuri is the cough woman king. So when people see the movie, and if there's no T'Challa, how will that reflect Feige and his decision making? Well, she's definitely going to be the king. She's been the king in the comic book, so I imagine that's going to happen. But I bet they don't want to like comparison to the Woman King. That would probably be bad.
T'Challa's coming back eventually. It's going to happen. It just, they wanted to celebrate Bozeman and get all that other stuff also. That's what I think.
But will Shuri give up the Black Panther mantle?
Oh, well, it can be a fight. Maybe they'll have like, you know, sandwiches and play checkers or something like that.
Yeah, but also there's precedent. I mean, Shuri's been Black Panther in the comics in the past. It's not like this is a
very
new thing.
very unsuccessful run as Black Panther.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, but it's been done. But the point is, it's been done. So it's not like they just sort of just went. You know, they didn't go woke or whatever word you want to use. Is they just they had a situation and they just chose to deal with it in this particular manner. I mean, you can disagree with it, but that doesn't make it like some kind of weird, conspiracy or something like that. People pointing out.
It's not. It's them making the best of a bad situation.
Yeah.
And you know, they're in the unfortunate situation where they have to try to adapt storylines that have never worked. The Shuri as Black Panther thing has never worked from the comics, so it's going to be another Eternal situation, Inhuman situation where they need
the Eternals were. I'm sorry.
Where they need to make something that has never worked in comics somehow magically work in film, and good luck. But I'm betting for the same outcome that you've had with every other failed comic property, movie or TV show. It just doesn't. It's unlikely to work. It's not impossible. It's just very unlikely. Now, we will know when they've recast T'Challa whenever they sign Leonardo DiCaprio.
Absolutely. Ideator says She-Hulk episode 7 and 8 are not the same show. Was episode 7 the worst one, Gabe?
Okay. What was 7? Was 7 the
wedding? Very memorable stuff.
I thought 7 was the Walk of Shame.
No, 7 was the
told.
8 is
8 is the Walk of Shame.
Okay.
7, I think, was either the wedding or when she went to the Namaste retreat with Blonsky. It was one of those two. I get them mixed up. Neither one of those were particularly good. Yeah, if you're talking about quality, is the writing quality there? Is the character work there? Is everything about the story there? Right. It's almost like two completely different shows. It's almost as if they just brought in a different production crew and said, you do 7, and then another crew, you do 8, and it's night and day. It's in terms of quality and just general enjoyability. It's night and day.
Well, so we got Lade Kraber. So reading the Amazing Spider-Man series, do you guys feel I will need to read Dark Chasm Alpha and Omega issues to follow on what's happening as he's rediscovering Amazing Spider-Man?
I hope not.
I'm not.
What's Dark Chasm? I don't know what that one is yet.
Is he talking about Dark
Chasm
Web?
is Ben Reilly, right?
Yeah, I think they're doing Alpha and Omega issues for leading into Dark Web.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck.
I might quit at that time.
I think I'm
have
skipping.
to read all that stuff.
I think I'm dropping both books that month.
Yeah,
and I'm already done. You know what? Fuck it. I'm
and
dropping
to be honest,
everything.
In the last 3 or 4 issues of Amazing Spider-Man, not much of anything of consequence has happened.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing.
Well,
we got
Gwen for.
It didn't even count.
It's Chasm in the Dark Web.
It didn't count. I mean, it's Judgment Day crossover.
Jerry
we got
Johnson
Fatal J in here. He says, hello, I'm a big fan of the show. Well, I'm a big fan of you, brother. Good to see you, mate.
We need the subscribers, so go on over there.
Absolutely.
Actually, I love Fatal J.
He's dropping in numbers, so if you can go and help him out, boost him.
There's no way he's dropping in numbers.
He was saying that the last time.
Dropping boo-boos.
He needs to rename his channel Tinkleberry.
No.
Yes,
for
he
sure.
does.
Tinkleberry.
That'll absolutely get him the subs back.
Yeah.
I heard Fatal J is losing 5,000 subs a week. So
yeah,
he definitely goes support that guy.
He said like go Frost or something like that.
How dare you? How dare you?
Well, he's fucked now.
Why would you invoke that name in this chat? Why would you do that?
Blade says, don't forget the Lazarus volcano is coming. Oh, we're talking about that one next. Don't worry. We haven't forgotten.
So DC heavy today.
Chuck Skills, Megan Fitzmartin is the bait of DC Comics. She's what?
Disagree. There is far worse offenders at that company, including anyone that hires anyone.
I think you should read Megan Fitzmartin's work before you make that comment.
Mm-hmm.
I've read it.
She could be a perfectly lovely person.
I read that Tim Drake Robin #1, and it was absolutely abysmal. But see, I don't blame her. It's not her fault that she sucks. It's the fault of everyone else that actually hired her.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah.
That's who is responsible. So basically, anyone that makes a hiring decision there should be shot into the sun.
Well, no. Here's the question. Would everybody have a different reaction to Tim Drake Robin #1 if they had a different artist besides Riley Rossmo?
No.
I think people would have hated it less.
Yeah, it would have been a little less.
I would have hated it less.
Yeah, if Tom Grummett was drawing it, you'd be okay with it.
No, they would hate it
The
less.
overall issue sucked, but they'd hate it less.
Yes. Right. I wouldn't be complaining about the art. I would just complain about the story. Cal wants to know, where's Namor? Namor's about to attack Wakanda.
That's not Namor.
Yeah. That's not Namor McKenzie, of course, but that could be. If it's multiverse.
Is that Ramon? What's
Namor McKenzie? That's our Namor. That's the Namor that appeared in Timely Comics, Marvel Comics #1 in 1938.
That's his last name, McKenzie. His daddy is Captain McKenzie, and his mom is an Atlantean princess. I mean,
they've kind of messed with that origin, though.
Yeah,
a lot.
Yeah, they call him Namor, but the character they present in those trailers is almost 99% Quetzalcoatl.
Yeah. So he's nowhere to be found, my friend. You're not the only one that noticed. So let's talk about some of these big events we got. We got the Lazarus Planet event coming up. DC Comics are kicking off the Dawn of DCU with a Mark Waid-led event where they've taken Lazarus Pits, which are a plot device, so you can resurrect people and explain why the Al Ghouls in the Legion of whatever, League of Shadows, can live forever. And then they made an island about it, made a tournament, and they brought in this devil guy now. And now it's going to be a volcano that's going to turn the entire planet into a Lazarus pit, and people aren't going to be like living forever. They're just going to get new powers now.
It's the X-Men?
DC Comics.
Hey, look, DC just copies Marvel's. DC copies Marvel's fucking homework every other time, so why the shit not?
Oh,
You know what? Just put all your dead bodies just make it at the bottom of the fucking volcano. Why the shit not?
I mean, right now they've been doing so much crap with Lazarus resin, which I'll point out Megan Fitzmartin was the one who had that in that Robin Eternal book, so that's another thing of hers. And these Lazarus pits now, you have science-based, you have all this nonsense. But the big play on this is, doesn't DC read the room? You don't need to announce an event while people are already arguing that there's too many events, too many crises going on right now. So they announce this, and people end
They're
up
not listening to people.
No, they're not. And
That's
the biggest deal. You're in the middle of your crisis, and now you're where people want to hear what might be coming next, and maybe new creative teams, new books, characters being they don't get it.
Look, I'm gonna tell everybody here right now exactly what my plan is, and I recommend all of you do this. I'm sorry, Yule, this is probably gonna hurt you.
I got back issues, dude.
Yeah. Absolutely everyone here, do not buy a new comic for the next 6 months.
I'm pricing up ROMs right now, and let me tell you, $8. That's the price of some of the comics that are coming out right now.
Yeah, do not purchase any.
It's so tough. Like Doc's saying,
any. No, not just don't just skip the event.
It's like a sports team. I mean, you sit there and your football team gets 2 wins, and you want to, show that you hate the way it's going, but you can't help it. Don't just skip the event. Don't just, I'll buy this book. Don't buy any brand new fucking comics for the next 12 months.
All right, this guy and his ice. Okay, I gotta ask you. You just got that in, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, excellent. Have you read it yet? No.
I just unboxed it just literally 20 minutes ago.
Really? Oh,
cool. I heard the tape and all, but that was like $45, right?
With shipping, 35, depending on where you live. Yeah. So,
okay.
And I haven't read it yet, so it might be worth it. I don't know.
Look at the Rockefeller over there.
I didn't do it. When I got to it, I was like, I had to pay a bill that day, and I said, fuck $45. So I was a little, I wanted to be a part of the experience, but I ultimately said no. So look, I will be excited to hear your review.
And coming this week from comicalopinions.com, be there.
Can you add in a worth or like how much you liked it, depending on like how much you paid for it also? Can you figure out a way to do that?
Absolutely. And for crowdfunded stuff, I'll usually add in a word about packaging quality. Did you get it in good condition and everything else? Here, I'll give you the first. I'm just leafing through it. I just literally just unboxed it about 45 minutes ago.
Right.
This art looks better than most of what DC's putting out right now.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well,
just leafing through it.
DC looks good, and not only that, Cliff Richards is a DC guy, if I remember correctly.
Remember, earlier we were talking about Wonder Woman. What was it? Eternal.
No, I don't look at that one.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I just started looking at Dark Crisis #1, and that David Sampier, he's doing good work on this.
Yeah, it looks great.
This art,
Flashpoint looks good.
It's about on par with like. This reminds me. The art in here looks on par. Reminds me of like Marvel Ultimates.
Mm-hmm. Like Brian
Hitch was good in that.
So like, and then not only that, but I think we really should start judging crowdfunded stuff compared to like that Fantastic Four Full Circle, because it's around the same price as that stuff. And if you can get one of those a year.
And that Full Circle,
well, I understand.
It's sort of like outside of
That's because Marvel was stupid. But
well, I'm being cheeky. Okay, I admit. I'm being cheeky, but when you bring up Lazarus Planet and the event, and I saw that artwork where it looks like somebody took, Dr. Fate's helmet and put it on Batman, and you have Martian Manhunter merged with Etrigan, I think it was. And
Doomsday, it looked like.
It was Doomsday or Etrigan or something like that. It's like, and I can feel, I'm not having a heart attack. I can feel the little bits of my soul leaving my body.
All they're doing.
As my will to kind of stick with DC is just is dwindling.
It's because
I don't understand.
They just copied DC from the Infinity Warps 5 years ago. It's literally just Infinity Warps from 5 years ago.
I know this is unfair.
Dark Knight's metal.
I know it's unfair. But when I see that image, and that's your promotional image, this is the big thing for 2023. I look at that and I say, that is the least creative thing I could possibly imagine. All you're doing is you're taking the characters and you're mixing them, matching them like it's some kind of,
action figure where you move the
action
heads
figure
and,
where they're just pulling the heads off and just putting on the other one. It's like, look, I made a new character.
like change the armor.
It is the most creatively anemic approach I think you could have ever taken, and I just look at that and I'm like, how are you on the downward trend of customer satisfaction? I know some people don't like the word customer satisfaction and sales volumes and all these other things are going on. And you're kind of in a reset year. You're in a reset year and coming out of that reset. And I've said this before, October is the big month because October is when you see solicits for January. That's when you see where all the titles line up and what they're going to do coming out of Dark Crisis. That is going to show you what DC is going to be after the big 2022 event. That's where you're going to get that flavor. It's not everything, but that's where you start to get a taste. And the big thing that they show you is that. And I look at it and I can feel the soul leaving my body. Aww. And when I just say, why bother? How can so few people at DC honestly care about their direction? That's what it comes across. I'm not saying it's true. There might be a bunch of people in there that really care about DC Comics and what they're trying to do. But when you present that image to me, that is the lowest effort presentation I could possibly imagine. So I have to pick up something like this and spend the extra money to do it and just say, this smells like somebody who cares.
Or just buy back.
This smells like somebody who cares. This smells
Why
like
is the cross right on his cross?
I don't know. I haven't read it yet. I don't know.
It's just sitting right there.
But I'm interested to find out.
Silly design, that one.
So what do you think, Doc? So DC Comics is borrowing all the worst ideas Marvel Comics had. So now they're going to do the breadcrumb event strategy. So if you read Batman Superman World's Finest, they introduce a character that they explore further in Batman vs. Robin. And in Batman vs. Robin, this volcano explodes. So you have to read Lazarus Planet, which will undoubtedly lead us into another miniseries or event.
Yeah, and it's complete. It's stupid. It didn't work for Marvel. It ended up,
ruining Brian Michael Bendis.
It ruined Bendis. It honestly, it killed all the momentum that like Venom had whenever they tried it during that. So it's stupid. They keep, just because the other team tried it doesn't mean you have to. You can actually look at the results too and be like, that ended up with lower sales afterwards. Maybe I should not fucking do that. Nope. They did it. We got to do it because we can do it better. It was brilliant. It just because it's failed every single other time that it's been tried. Well, we're smart enough to do it. Well, they're commies, so that's what commies think too. It's failed every other time. Commies and atheists. Yeah, it's failed every other time, but I'm sure we're smart enough to make it work. So it seems stupid, and that's why I'm doing my part by I've decided I'm done purchasing any new comics for at least the next 6 to 12 months, and none. No new
Not
comics.
even Chris Claremont Gambit stuff.
Nope, I'm done. I'm dropping. In fact, I've made the decision now. I'm stopping at the LCS today, picking up the stuff that's already pulled for me, and telling them kill my pull list.
That's
good job, Sully.
You
black
customer. That's a good customer. I like that, Doc. You're going to go in and buy your books and then say cancel them. I appreciate that. That's how you're supposed to do it out there.
Hey, look, if they already have them in my file,
I did order them a month ago.
Yes.
Just to let you know.
Yeah, I know.
So there's more that's coming.
I know, but yeah, at least. But that's just one on the shelf. Okay. Fine.
Yes, that's right. But
yeah,
you get scared as an owner when you see 4 more than normal. It's like, something bad happened.
Yeah.
So you're saying you're not interested in seeing what happens with Electric Blue Jonathan Kent?
I am not interested in absolutely anything that any of these motherfuckers are going to publish until they quit fucking around and get back to the shit that anybody actually liked. You know what? The way out is not through. It is finding the best the last known good point and resetting to there. More fuck ups on top of existing fuck ups isn't going to unfuck this comic industry.
And not only that, writing a comic and a story shouldn't end in an event all the time. Daredevil just did that. I mean, Daredevil needed an event for everybody. And it was good. I liked it. All right. Oh, there you go. There's the event I liked. Devil's Reign.
Devil's Reign. Okay.
Devil's Reign was good, everybody. But he doesn't need that. We don't need oh man, by the time Harley Quinn, when that writer ends, it's going to be a big Harley Quinn event or something.
Well, she just had a weekly.
You know what's the irony of that comment is the current Zdarsky Batman run is a better event than Dark Crisis.
Yeah.
If you look at the latest issue 128, that is an event level plot.
Yeah, but Wes killed it for me already. Yeah. Even though I liked it, Wes killed it.
I didn't kill it.
You killed it for me.
You killed it for yourself. It was probably Sully anyway. He's the one that ruined comics for Doc.
What?
Doc was loving comic books until he started talking to the Sultan of Soup, and now he doesn't want to support comics anymore.
Man, there's such balance in the cosmos. It's like
that's how it works.
It's like I'm your reverse Flash, man.
Yeah.
All right, cool. You can pick up my slack from me not buying any fucking comics anymore. I'm fucking done.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, well, let's see what the other some of the viewers have to say. What do our friends say? Common Sense says, since John Kent got Superman blue powers, I wonder what happens to Lana Lang's Superman red power. Does she still have it? Is Superman or Superwoman comic good?
No. Both are no.
That was a while ago.
Superman Reborn seemed to have gotten rid of a lot of that stuff that happened in that Superwoman book, and that Superwoman book sucked. It was terrible. It was really bad.
You know what's a good Superwoman book is that one from Tom King, where he basically rips off True Grit.
You hold your tongue. You bite your tongue on that one, my friend.
Tasted vomit.
Yeah.
Well, in his latest book, in his what is it? Gotham Year
It's
One.
Lindbergh baby kidnapping.
Lindbergh baby kidnapping.
That's all he does.
No way, really?
Yeah.
Yes.
And not an homage, not a
like
inspired by. It is
Yeah.
point for point the exact same circumstances as the Lindbergh baby kidnapping.
Oh, great.
Did people forget what happened when they end up discovering the baby outside and
the ladder, the poorly grammatically written note, the symbol at the bottom of the note?
I think that he just
everything it's identical.
Remembers things.
Right. Yeah, that's history.
Smarter than everybody else, and he thinks he can throw this stuff past him. And then when he gets called on it, it's an homage then.
I don't know why are they bringing the Superman blue and red stuff back. I saw it in Super Sons in one of their miniseries, and I hated it then. I hated it the original time they did it. I don't understand why they would ever revisit this. It's so stupid.
For the exact same reason that they've spent the last 5 years just giving Miles Morales Spider-Man's leftovers and his hand-me-downs, because they have nothing interesting to say and they can't do anything new with diversity character. The diversity version of a character cannot do anything new because it cannot experiment. All it has the ability to do is just copy the things that the original real version of that character already did, even if they were poorly received. They're like, oh, fuck it, we need to do.
I could do something good with Miles Morales.
I disagree. I think they got a lot of attention when they experimented with Miles Morales and Thor.
My own is fade. What are you talking about?
Yeah. For a what if issue. Yeah, sure. But no, like
I call that an experiment.
Well, I mean, I call that a fucking disaster, but so do I do with literally anything else involving Miles. But my point is, they will never do something original with the diversity bingo version of a character. You will never see anything original. If they do something original, it will be something about their diversity.
No,
that or they end up reusing ideas and never understanding that they're reusing ideas that failed the first time. They think that this will be nostalgia that everybody will love, and it's not. And you're trying to make John a different character by reusing something from Superman's past. That doesn't do it.
Marvel's doing the same thing right now with Dick, and it doesn't work. Carrie from Nerdy Girl Creates is talking to you, Doc. Buy manga.
No. In fact, I'm gonna do everybody a big fucking favor and just not buy anything.
Mhm.
He's
I'm gonna.
I
keep
made a
my
video
goddamn
just for
money.
you. All the manga, if you like superheroes, the manga that translate best to like the superhero characters.
Still don't seem to. I can't bring myself.
My Hero
gotta
Academia is X-Men, Doc,
You
with
gotta
Captain
read
America.
Pluto.
I
That's
get
the
it.
one.
I get
That-
it. I understand everybody's argument on this. My brain doesn't give a fuck about it and can't
Mhm.
remember what I read on the last page.
All right.
The gray matter in my head rejects the content.
You're
All
too
right.
old. We all get there, Doc.
Maybe try European comic books.
Oh.
Those are actually really good too. Dylan Lindsay
Yeah, you
says,
like
I hate
Shrek.
to,
They're pretentious as fuck.
Dylan Lindsay says, I hate to say it, but Gabe is right. I hate to hear you say it, buddy. Not because he's usually wrong, but because I wanted him to be. DC won't actually change until the people at the top are replaced. So Gabe is you're blackpilling the viewers now, Gabe, huh? Although
Wait,
I
is that
did
what
say there
that's
was no
called?
hope yesterday.
You know,
didn't I?
I've made that comment before, and let me be clear about that. I don't wish nobody likes to lose their job. Nobody likes to lose their job. But when you look at where DC is right now, there is no way that executive structure from Jim Lee on down is going to all of a sudden do a 180 and bring comics for DC back to a healthy, growing, stable, prosperous state with the exact same people. If they brought it to this place, which is a down spot, the same people are not just going to magically figure it out and bring it to a better place. It doesn't work that way. It's like a sports team. Sometimes you got to get rid of the managers. Sometimes you got to get rid of the team captain. Sometimes you got to get rid of the coach. That's just the way it is. If the leadership can't bring them into a positive place, you've got to make a change. And sometimes that means you got to move people out. Now, does that mean you fire Jim Lee? No, it could mean that you put him in a different position, but away from planning and leadership and management. Maybe he wants to just go back to drawing. Okay, fine, do that. But you have to make a leadership change. If you don't change your leadership, wherever they are right now is either going to stay the same or get worse. That's just the way it is.
Sometimes it's the problem of the owner. I mean, I live in Pittsburgh. We got the fucking Pirates. That problem comes straight from the owner.
Well, DC Comics is the least important thing going on at Warner Brothers Discovery. It brings in the least amount of revenue.
Exactly. So it's going to also get the least amount of budget.
And it's going to get the least amount of oversight and to make sure that they're doing a good job. No one cares, as long as you make a little money.
Exactly.
So if you can do anything you want, and your parents aren't gonna, wouldn't you do the best thing you can do or the most awesome thing you can do? Like, it's gonna get you in the most trouble, maybe, or are you gonna just do all this shit?
It's going to be like was it the Adam Sandler movie when the kid wanted to eat 50 packets of ketchup?
That would be better.
The problem is, they are doing what they want to do.
Yes.
They don't want to do comic books, then, is what you're
I know they don't want to do superhero comics, so they're not making superhero comics.
Yeah,
and
that's
guess what?
it's
We're
been
not
the
getting
problem for a long
superhero
time.
comics.
No, but I'll disagree on this one point. Is I think DC does have a breaking point. There has got to be a floor where beyond which the volume of sales and the price point just are so far out of whack that they just can't sustain themselves. I don't know what that number is, but I believe it's there. Nothing
I think
is
it's
ever
whatever they price a Joker issue at.
Yeah.
But
it's
dollars.
But it's there. And once they cross that line, something has to break.
You hit it
Something
with
has to
monthly
break.
$5 books. That is the line.
If it was $5,
you will only lose readers from then on. You will gain 0 readers.
Yeah.
They
You
are
can
currently
only
charging
lose
$10 for a Mark Russell Superman comic. They have not hit that floor.
Well,
If they could get away with charging
they
$10
hit
for a
it.
Mark
The
Russell
thing
Superman
is
comic,
there's no extra
something wrong.
pages in that Joker, at least. You know what I mean? There are in that Superman one. There are in those horrible anthologies. They are thicker, at least. You know, you are getting more pages. $10 is ridiculous. $45 might be
Yeah, I was going to
ridiculous
say,
too,
you're
though.
sniffing a $45 comic over there. Yeah, adding these lame or backups to the issues recently, that has to end. They're not selling anyway, and those backups are definitely not doing it.
I mean,
We know they're looking into it.
Yeah.
They're doing a little audit. We'll see what happens.
Hopefully.
they're not
Yeah.
going to do anything.
Something has to break eventually.
Something
There's no such thing as infinite do whatever. Eventually, something has to break. I don't know
Yes.
when. I don't know what that number is, but when it happens, it's going to be catastrophic.
What they're going to do is you're going to have a bunch of non-comics people try to hire new people to replace the people that they're going to fire. It's not going to work. The spiral down will continue. There is
I don't think that's what's going to
reversing
happen,
course.
Doc. All
It-
signs point that they're going to license it out.
They're going
Wow.
to try.
Yeah.
They're going to try one management
be
change first. I
crazy.
guarantee that.
Todd
They will
McFarlane buys it all. Boom.
They will have a management change first.
Man, the problem is when they have this management change, and you said they have non-comic people, and they end up not having any original ideas, and they actually use the ideas from who just got fired, and it just keeps rolling, down the hill. And all together is bullshit.
And then they try the license it out thing, but then the problem is that'll never work.
Yeah.
It
If those
can't work.
characters get
It's literally
split,
impossible.
All right.
If you split
Okay,
them
Doc.
up, if you split them up,
Let's-
you lose all the appeal.
interesting.
Mr. DC Comics ripped to Kim Jong. My goodness, it's that's not how you say his name. You misspelt it. It's
You have
the
it
U
somewhere
doesn't
down
belong
here.
Kim Jong G. Yes, legendary artists. Also, DC characters all get their powers from the God of Wave, the New Gods, with the first world split in two.
All right.
Not anymore.
Cool.
Did you know that there's going to be a Filipino Aqua woman,
Nice.
according to Tom Taylor?
About time.
Is Philippines like in Atlantis?
It is now.
All of the ocean is
All of
Atlantis
the
now.
ocean. Yeah.
Do you live in a place where you were around
Am I
water?
Atlantean?
Yes, you are now an Atlantean. Fuck, you're going to end up with an Atlantean from the goddamn Great Lakes at some point because, well, it's near a body of water and Atlantis is there too. Because why the fuck not?
You know, a great Aquaman was Sub Diego when all of San Diego
Yes.
got submerged.
That was a cool arc.
And
Yes.
and those people kind of transform, like a lot of them, most of them died, but they also developed fish powers or something. And so they were like
Waterworld.
they were like other Atlanteans, they were like, well, you got to accept them in. So there
Were
was
they
a lot
refugees?
they were
'Cause that would
kind
be a
of like
great story for today's
It-
DC Comics.
Well, see, they didn't talk about them necessarily. I mean, they were definitely refugees.
No, that's
The thing is,
that's the joke. If it was in
No,
today's
I-
comics, that's all they would talk about.
that's all they would talk about, but it wasn't like that. It was like, hey, I used to be a cop in San Diego, and now I'm down here, and I still want to be a cop type person, and stuff like that. That was great. Aquaman, just to let everybody know.
Common Sense says, so who's at New York City Comic Con? Well, I know that Aaron Sparrow's there. Apparently,
AL.
he's already met AL. AL also met Drew and the people from Comics Elite. Joe Corallo's there. He's got his own panel going on. Today's Superman panel. Can you do a favor for me at New York Comic Con? Ask when Kenny Porter's Superboy comic is coming out. Why Miguel Montez can't be part of the new Superman team and who's writing it. So that's a request. If you're going to be at New York Comic Con, can you ask Kenny Porter about the Superboy comic, which I guarantee you won't come out because John Kent is Superboy for the most part. And why can't Miguel Montez be part of the new Superman team and who's writing it? I think the new Superman writing team is going to be Tom Taylor and Philip Kennedy Johnson, just like the last one. Otherwise, they wouldn't be on the book that's rebooting it, right?
Well, the Superman panel's at 1:45 Eastern today. So if you're checking it out, that's the time to be there.
I almost guarantee you there will be no change as far as the writers, or they wouldn't be doing the big special issue that's kicking off the new era.
I agree. Yeah, I agree, and that's a
more the same.
problem. Yeah.
More of the same.
Yeah. Ryan Wilson. I'm told American comics sold the most ever last year. If so, then how can we expect change? Money is how things change. No, comics sold more in America last year than ever, but it wasn't like American superheroes. It was manga and kids comic books.
And
this
even
year,
with
they're actually
Total
gonna sell
Comics,
more-
DC's that down
Yeah.
now.
Don't worry, Full Circle is going to take us, bring us back.
Yeah,
It would be nice if they could emulate that.
Every month we hear about, oh, we got this one successful book. Yes, I'm sorry, one successful book here and there and anywhere else. Guess what? It doesn't save 400 failing books. It doesn't raise the level. It doesn't rise the tide. You need the majority of the industry to be producing good, not 2 books, 3 books here in a line of 100.
Even then, you used to have a couple a month, and
Doesn't
it's
matter.
hard now.
Well-
I know it's hard now without real concrete sales, but you can tell that the books that were at one level have gone down 2 notches down that level. They have that. There's that weird like missing middle section as well. It's either like you said, 2 or 3 books doing really good Batman books, especially at DC, and then boom, they're missing in the top 50, top 100. Then
Yeah.
don't have enough.
The whole
You used to buy
tide is
Batman
moving
and Detective and then, get some of the other books. But now if I'm buying extra DC books, it's just more Batman or Batman family type stuff. It's hard, the add-on sale. It's kind of like rude to say that, but that's what, you bring them in with Batman and you get them hooked with the other stuff, or get them hooked with Batman and get them to buy the other stuff. They're just not doing it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
MG says another big DC problem is Image swooping in at the end of the year to make a pile of money and hide a year of failure. Batman Spawn, Batman Joker. Batman Joker, I believe, comes out in January. Isn't that when it debuts?
No, I think it's coming out in November. I could be wrong.
November. It's November.
Yeah.
Is it November?
And not only that,
FOC was the other day.
As far as ordering, they're double upping on December. Now that might come out in January. I'm not sure. I forget how it works.
Batman Spawn's going to be a big winner. I think that'll do at least 300,000 minimum.
The
I'm
ad
gonna order
says-
heavy on it.
The ad says
because-
November in Batman 128. The Batman the Joker Deadly Duo out in November.
And
Yeah,
the weird
I'm
part of
gonna
that
order-
is Spawn is having one of the best years ever. I mean, with King Spawn and Scorch and everything else that's going on, this has been one of the best Spawn years in a long time. So in a strange,
And you have the Spawn movie news. It's all coming out.
yeah,
now.
all that stuff going. So in a roundabout way, Batman is almost sort of riding Spawn's coattails, not the other way around.
Well,
so.
Well, Batman's still number 1. Let's not.
Yeah, but
Capullos,
they're
yeah.
it's not. It's definitely not an unequal relationship in that regard.
Well, I mean, people are certainly coming in because Todd McFarlane's associated with the
yeah.
project. That certainly ups the value by a lot. Shin Megami talks. You guys seem to have good ideas. Ever thought about writing for the big 2?
They couldn't afford me.
Myself and I, absolutely not. But I know that was your lifelong dream, right, Yul?
There was a time when I really wanted to write in comics, and I tried. I sent out all those rejection, all the things that came back rejected.
You should have been buying
All my
drinks at
submissions.
Comic Cons for people.
Well, the thing is, I should have been on websites or bulletin boards back in the day.
Kiss
I
Warren
should-
Ellis's ass.
No.
Kiss
Or
Warren,
more.
Warren Ellis's ass, Sam Milady. Oh wait, that's now. All that stuff. I didn't know that the ass kissing you needed to do was people that weren't important at the time.
And start writing for shitty online nerd blogs.
Well, I mean, back here are some comics that I worked on that didn't do anything. I worked for a very, very small company at one time, and I learned some stuff. And I thought I learned some stuff, but nothing ever got published or anything with my name on it. Whatever. I'm out. When I published my own thing to take to con and show people what I could do, I feel like I did my time, and I'm away from comic books, and I probably wouldn't ever want to do it again. But I still come up with ideas every once in a while that I think would be fun. You work in a comic store; it has to happen.
So,
Marvel
Gabe, you actually do prose. Are you a prospective comic book writer too?
At present, no, but if an opportunity presents itself in the future, you never say never, but not currently. No.
Very nice. Anyone else has anyone else wanted to write comic books?
I wouldn't mind being an editor and trying to do something to whip these people. And actually, the editors seem to be writing more nowadays anyway, so then I could backdoor it in.
Do you know Eric Breen has written like 100 issues of comics? He's scripted out like 100 comic issues.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yes, he has.
We need that fanfic now.
It might be more than 100. It might be like, it's a lot. Like he's got an entire like a comic book that he's got written out and scripted, but it's never been produced.
Bam.
Yeah, I got
Awesome.
3 or 4. I got 3.
When are you going to work in Marvel, Doc?
Never.
Never.
They couldn't afford me, and they would despise the direction that I would take things because
Alright.
it would piss everybody off. I'd actually write a superhero fucking comic.
The
God forbid
first
you do
year of
that.
Doc at Marvel is going to be titled "Didn't Stick."
Ryan Wilson. Marvel is making a Marvel universe. If the manga is killing Western comics crowd, needed more fuel.
Mhm.
They've already had a Marvel manga universe,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and I believe the Wolverine book has already been created. It's just being released like as a collection now, so I don't think that's original material. There is a bunch of short stories. It's going to be a bunch of different manga artists like homaging the Marvel universe, but it's not going to be ongoing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I wouldn't call this a universe.
No.
Would you, Jim?
No, it's just like an homage type deal. It's just
It
going to
will
be
be,
there, and
though.
it's kind of cool actually. And the Deadpool manga is really good. I
Deadpool
mean,
Samurai
it
is a
really
big hit.
Yeah, it's really good. Was one of Marvel, if not their best-selling book of that year. And I saw some people in the chat saying, "Oh, this Marvel universe, they're going to get crazy agendas and stuff like that." I don't really see that happening. I think it's just going to be straight up homage, and yeah, maybe it'll turn into something bigger. But right now, it's just for people to grab onto and see little short stories by people they might recognize from manga.
I am
And
greatly,
the big stuff has already been created.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
re-releasing it.
I am greatly amused to watch Marvel license their shit out to someone else and then have to license it back,
Yeah.
translate it so that they can actually
That's
have
what they do
something
with
that'll
Deadpool
fucking
Samurai.
sell. I know, so that they can
Yeah.
have something that'll fucking sell.
Yeah, it does sell. And I'd rather read that than stuff like Marvel trying to do with that mecha deal that Jim Zub did that tried to kind of get that feel, but it didn't. And so, yeah, I'm all for it.
Imperative says, listening at work, great show so far. By the way, Doc is usually wrong. Just saying. Well, I agree with you. All right. he said
Wait. That
Doc
doesn't
is
say
right.
wrong.
He says Doc is right. I love you, Imperative, but I disagree with you on that with Doc. I don't know what Doc is, but right ain't the best way to describe it. You know what I'm saying? Happy Steve. Welcome to the Gabe and Sully Blackpill All Comic Fans show, where hopeful comic lovers come with wide eyes and leave hopeless and give up on comics. R.I.P. Doc.
Isn't that disturbing sounding?
It's like
It
Yeah,
really
Darth
is.
Vader giving
Vader,
a
yeah.
prank call.
It's like Vader is now. Vader's been on casting Blue Velvet.
Well, he's since
That's what
James Earl
passion.
Jones
That's
is
what passion
retired, right?
smells like.
Darth
what
Vader
passion-
joined the fucking Jerky Boys. Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
really.
Black
All right.
Pill, me?
Thank you so much for supporting the
Sunshine,
channel. Happy
positivity.
Steve. Love seeing the dog. We've got one more topic in this. We won't be able to cover it like for 30 minutes, but we will hit it because we do have this Captain America Cold War event. We got Colin Kelly, Jackson Lanzig, Tochi Onyebuchi doing a crossover between the two Captain America books going on. We're also going to get the debut of a new version, I guess, of Winter Soldier. I wouldn't be surprised if they changed the identity of that character. Doc, you're the Marvel guy. Are you excited for Captain America Cold War?
Fuck no. This is a stupid. Everything about this whole
Thought I
reboot
had it.
of Captain America has been retarded on every conceivable level. So sure, you know what? Fuck it. Who cares? Just stick a bunch of shitty comic writers, mediocre artists into a story that nobody gives a fuck and make them bash against each other.
I've been enjoying those Captain America books. Okay,
Alien Shield.
look,
That is retarded.
I can't help that, but overall, all right.
But
so
is it Alien? I
the
don't think they
Captain
ever
America
confirmed
book,
Alien.
the Steve Rogers one is not my favorite. I like the Sam Wilson more.
Really?
They both have.
He's
they
starting a
got good
Civil War in
action.
Wakanda.
Well, I haven't read that issue yet. I guess.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
I'm a
I
little
used to
bit
Wait, put on my
behind.
glasses. I'm not sure I heard you.
Well, I know that he was in Wakanda, and then he got arrested by
Man.
somebody. Somebody showed up. I can't remember who it was.
The secret kind of.
But I thought the art's okay in those. But no, I don't want to read.
The art is good on
The art's good.
the main title. Yes.
Yeah.
It's RB
Wait,
Silver,
which
right?
one's the main title?
Mhm.
Well, I
The,
think it's supposed to be the
Sentinel of
Sam
Liberty.
Wilson book because it has
Yeah, I
the better
think so,
artist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
then that has the legacy numbering. So
And then
Oh, okay,
Carmen
very good.
Carnero was the artist on the Steve.
Yeah, I mean they're okay.
Rogers
It's not my favorite. It's so much better than the Ta-Nehisi Coates run, though.
Yeah, I know. My dog.
And I like
shitting
Captain
on the,
America.
Yeah.
As I've gotten older, I like Captain America.
I
So
can
I guess I want to like it, you know.
I can take a
also.
shit on a piece of paper and it's better than the Ta-Nehisi Coates.
I'd read that.
It doesn't make this good. It's still terrible, and we need to stop giving passes to terrible things just because they're less terrible than the last terrible thing.
Well, Captain America
It's
has
shit, and it's been
been
shit
that way
since
for a
Brubaker
long
left.
time. I mean, almost always. You know, Captain America kind of.
Captain America has had 2 good runs in its existence: Grunwald and Brubaker. Everything else
now I
is
say
bad.
Roger
Roger Stern.
Yeah.
I don't say Grunwald. I don't like his stuff. Sorry, guys. Squadron Supreme can
every-
suck a dick.
Everything else is the reason why Cap is a C-list hero.
Yeah.
What about the Liberace of comics? He wrote a pretty damn good Captain America story.
Oh
Wait, Cena Grace?
no,
No.
he's talking about wait, why in the fuck am I-
Shakespeare of
No,
comics with Stan Lee.
The
Steranko.
guy with the hair,
Jim
Steranko.
Steranko.
The Liberace
Oh,
of
he is
comics.
pretty
Except
liberal.
Except for no, he's the most interesting man in comic books.
Oh, yeah.
That he is
or
not. He looks good. Man can dress like a
the
motherfucker.
dude knows where
He's all flash, Doc.
I know.
He's got glitter.
He's all flash, but he also is the most interesting goddamn man in comic books.
Well, he wrote a Captain America run.
He actually I don't think he did.
Was
He did
that-
Nick
he
Fury
just
run.
drew
Nick Fury, big.
He,
No,
did-
really-
he
really
wrote
did.
Nick
No,
Fury.
he does
he
Captain
drew
America also,
Captain
though, right?
America.
Yeah.
No,
he only drew-
he wrote a Captain America story.
All right.
I think there's werewolves in it, right? Or is that Roger Stern?
I don't think
Might be
there's
getting
werewolves
mixed up.
in it.
That would've-
Werewolves,
that-
I'm in.
Which one was the werewolf Cap? Who
That would have been
Well,
the
no,
end
it's,
of
it's,
Grunwald.
Sam Wilson turns into a
Grunwald.
werewolf.
Oh, he does, but that's not Steranko.
No, I can't remember. Cap fakes his death in the Steranko story because people have figured out who he was.
Well,
and he
Breen will
wanted to
let us
take his
know what you're
identity back.
talking about.
Yeah, people will let us know. Also, didn't Stan Lee write Captain America?
Yeah, of course.
Poorly.
Ugh.
Well, that's Stan Lee for you.
No, now we're gonna hate on Stan Lee. We're not.
Not
gonna
at all.
do
He
this.
used very big words for a comic book. That's great. You know, I mean, he reiterated what the picture told you in almost everything. So you know,
Oh, like, you're one of those
That
people.
was- that was-
he didn't come up with any of the Spider-Man stories while Ditko was there. You know, he might have said we should put all these characters together. You know, okay.
He created Spider-Man. He's the sole
He-
creator.
Actually, I believe
I heard
no,
a story.
No, not Kirby. Screw that story. That's Kirby doing
talking about
doing
Stan
a Marvel
Lee's
to
story where he
Steve
came up with the
Ditko.
idea. Marvel said no. And then they put in Amazing
Regardless,
Fantasy 15, and then
Dude,
it
there were
sold. And
pulp
they're like,
stories called the Spider-Man and the Batman long before freaking Kane and Stan Lee. Also, I mean, these elements to these characters have existed.
regardless,
before.
I don't really care.
Me either.
Yeah, look, none of this matters because the first bit of preview art they showed is Bucky with a man bun.
Dude, I was gonna say like when
So,
you
you
look like
like,
a samurai.
Man bun equals automatic hard pass.
appropriation.
You
Yeah.
put Bucky with a man bun, it is an automatic hard pass. None of this matters.
What's
I-
worse,
I
Doc,
was
is it the
thinking
man
that.
bun or the cape? Because the cape bothered me.
The cape is
sucks.
absolutely
It's the
ridiculous,
combo.
and there is absolutely 0% chance that any trained soldier would ever wear a cape, unless they're Batman and they just want to do it for. Because his cape isn't a cape; it's like a utility fucking blanket
Yeah.
on his back. No, any other soldier, there is
Talk ab-
0% chance he would wear a cape.
Well, the
talk about
Batman
a
cape makes
picture
sense too, because he's always in the shadows if you wanted to hide his
Yeah.
face and stuff.
I'll allow it if they call it a poncho.
Ooh, like a cloaking poncho.
I mean,
Like,
If
if
it's a
they,
poncho, then I'll
Yeah,
allow
but it
it.
would have to be more over.
It doesn't
I
matter.
know that-
He's
I
got a
know
man
they're
bun.
tr-
He's got a
I
man
know they're
bun.
tr-
That's all you need to know.
yes, I know.
cloaking
Jesus,
cloak.
it's the thing that what they're trying to go for, like that World War I, World War II Soviet style uniform for him. With the long coat that was sometimes not a coat, it was like the one shoulder cloak thing. It's kind of ridiculous looking, and that's what they were going for with this design, and it just doesn't work.
All right, Gabe, you said something I found was interesting. You would accept it if it was called a poncho.
Yes.
Are you the kind of guy that carries a purse if he can call it a satchel?
Ooh.
Well, satchels are much sturdier, bigger.
Yeah,
right?
they're-
If it goes
more
across,
manly, right?
if the strap goes.
Well,
across
I
the
mean,
middle,
you know,
you've got,
can
like,
it take a bullet?
Is he delivering
Yeah.
mail? Is it,
Yeah.
is it-
Or am I carrying an idol for Indiana Jones?
No,
You
it's
know?
got your laptop in it, your cell
Wow.
phone, maybe your makeup, all
I
that.
don't
like
know.
stuff.
Maybe not that stuff. There has to be something a little bit more
Your
substantial.
baseball cards. Maybe it's got
It
a
has
comic
to
book
be.
inside
It
of
has to be across the chest, over the shoulder strap. If it has two small handles or a single strap over, no. It
You
has
don't
to
want
be.
the added utility of being able to carry it around with your hand.
Why aren't
How many pouches are on the
There's
strap?
no pouches.
Now that
It's a satchel.
that would
many
be.
as needed.
That's
to look
military
cool.
equipment.
As long as
Well,
it looks cool. Many
I
as
was thinking Youngblood, but you know,
Yes.
or Rob Liefeld.
I'm
Or
pretty sure that
Cyclops.
Gabe wears a
Cyclops.
satchel. I'm just saying.
Indy
I think I've
Jones,
seen 'em.
too.
Thank you. He knew it. I do. He's got a little satch going on.
It's a satchel.
Wow.
It's like
Yeah,
when I get a
Gabe is wrong.
pedicure, I don't tell my wife I want a pedicure. I want a foot detail.
exactly.
You want a foot job, is what you really want.
No, I say foot detail.
Work those cuticles.
You say foot job in Asia, that things might go south.
It might
I
go-
know.
or not.
That's
with you.
why I
It's a very
said
different
it.
meaning.
Yeah, it's
And
not,
don't leave your dog outside.
Hello.
Actually, the whole thing of this just shows that this Cold War event, nobody cares.
There's nothing to talk
There's
about.
nothing to
I
talk
tried
about.
to make a video on it.
And
No
nobody-
3 days.
Nobody
Who are the
writes.
writers
The main writers, right?
I have
Lansing
Tochi
and,
Ajibuchi,
Yeah.
Jackson Lansing, and Kyle Kelly.
Nobody
I have-
reading either
I'm being
book.
facetious about the man bun, but that's why it doesn't matter.
I
Yeah.
know
Because we got
what
Lansing,
Takes you out of
Kelly, Onyebuchi.
the
They're
only
not
way.
doing great. They're not doing well at all with their current
The
titles.
books are
I mean,
failing.
right. The Sentinel of Liberty is better than the Sam Wilson book, but the Sam Wilson book is a mess.
And
That plot is. I mean, it is. The plot is a mess.
the regular Steve book's a mess too. It's the
but
idea.
it's
what
less of a
Doc
mess than
said.
the
It's
Sam Wilson
still,
book.
yeah, still though.
yeah,
The
but they're-
only
I mean,
way it works is if the Winter Soldier comes in, kills everyone, including the writing staff.
And,
Mhm.
and
Like,
the-
he
and
breaks-
himself.
He
kills
manages
himself.
he manages to shoot through the fourth wall, and
Anybody
take out
reading
the
it.
entire editorial staff and anyone that likes it. But it only hurts the people that like this, and then we no longer have to listen to those people talk about comics, and they can go away,
You-
and normal people can
I
start
said
making
I liked
comics
it.
again.
you have to-
Okay, well,
you have to
sorry,
look-
buddy.
You have to look at the reaction.
Love you,
can't-
Yul.
I'll take the bullet for you.
I guess I'll just have to say goodbye to you now, man. I love you, but I'll make sure that I say something nice in your eulogy.
When
Thank
somebody
you.
says here's a Captain America event and they
Eulogy.
say Lansing and Kelly, the collective reaction is, ugh. It's the same reaction where they finally announced that Stephanie Phillips is coming off of Harley Quinn, and who they replace her with? T.D. Howard.
I
Everybody just
thought
goes,
T.D. Howard was writing it.
Yeah, she's right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Well,
Stephanie
you're
Phillips. No,
coming
Stephanie
out.
Phillips. Exactly. The reaction is, ugh. It's just more of the same. That's not an event. That's not going to get me or anybody else hyped and excited for whatever is coming.
Oh,
That's
maybe
just
they'll
not
have like a Catwoman Harley Quinn crossover event.
Well,
That'd be
Harley
great.
Quinn was already.
This
in
is
Catwoman.
me right here. Fingers crossed. I hope it happens.
Stephanie Phillips will be writing Catwoman.
Oh,
They'll
it'll
just
be a little
switch.
dipsy
They'll
do then
switch. Yeah,
instead of,
they'll dipsy do.
They
I'm
just
sure.
play fucking musical chairs.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's musical
clowns.
chairs. Yeah.
It's a shell, Gabe. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right,
So
fellas. I
so
can't
the
talk
net
about
effect
this
is one
horse
thing.
shit anymore. It's time to do an outro. Daddy needs to eat, and then I've got a video recorded with Jim about the best comic books of the week.
Nice.
So this could be good. That one will be coming up later this evening. Let's do some comic book recommendations, Doc. You're black pilled. You're never going to read a new comic book again. Did you at least find a comic book to recommend this week before you
No.
quit?
No. I have not bought a comic that
Wow.
I can legitimately say that I really, really recommend, and I would suggest anyone else part their hard-earned money on in probably 2 months. Anything that I've recommended was just kind of okay in the interim. It was just not a complete waste of money, but I definitely, if you're not already buying it, don't buy it. In fact, actually, if you're not already buying it, don't buy anything.
That would be. a good suggestion.
There's my recommendation.
Pull the band-aid off.
Yeah, start it
do it.
now. Start it now. Don't read anything. You know what? I recommend that you go into your back issue bins at your store, and I have a couple of older series that you could definitely check out. there was a Blink mini series that led into the original Exiles run, and then start reading the original Exiles run, issues 1 through actually only about 92. You don't have to get all the way to 100, because as much as I like Chris Claremont, those last 8 issues that he did were not very good. And so, yeah, I would say go buy that Blink miniseries, which is kind of cool. She's an interesting character, and then read the Exiles run 1 through about 92. You can pick them up relatively cheap, and they will be a good substitute for buying any new comics for probably the next few months.
Very nice. Jim, obviously we're going to do our comic book recommendations. Do you have anything you want to mention? Just a little teaser before we do this video?
Yeah. I say Junkyard Joe from Image, Jeff Johns and Gary Frank's book. I thought that was a really good one shot. It comes out of Geiger, but you don't have to read Geiger to understand it. It's just a pretty solid one shot, little Vietnam War robot stuff going on. And also Batman this week continued to be good, even though it kind of rehashes a story that's been going on. But Chip Zdarsky doing a good job. It looks amazing. So those are my 2 recommendations.
Very nice. Yul Carter, do you have any recommendations?
I do. That Junkyard Joe also has a black and white variant on the inside, so you could get Gary Frank with all that coloring. It's worth it. Also, the Image 30th anniversary number 6 comes out that has the second part of the Joe Casey story in it. So you should check that out. Or check out the video of me interviewing Joe Casey about that comic. And then lastly, I'll say DC Horror, Sergeant Rock, book 1. It's got Bruce Campbell writing it, and it has art by Eduardo Rizzo. I know zombie Nazis, but Sergeant Rock can't help when he comes from. So there you go.
Very
That's what I
nice.
recommend.
We've also got Kill Jill up there. Daddy wants to know what comic books you're recommending this week. Sully?
Indeed. I got 4 comic books this week. I got, a recommendation from Yule and Carrie, Nerdy Girl Creates. This is Crazy Food Truck. Volume 2 just came out. Looking forward to reading this for the next couple of months. I'm going to parse this out a chapter a week because it's that good. I don't want it to end. I have got, me too. I've got Batman 128. This is pretty good. I like the backup story a lot because it clobbers existing, like that New 52 canon. This shows a very young Dick Grayson in his original Robin costume. I love that. I picked up Night of the Ghoul on Dark Horse by Scott Snyder and Francisco Francavilla. I mean, I love his art. This is really good, and this is off Dark Horse. It's a Comixology Originals, and I got Miracle Man #0. And this is an anthology one. This is finally Marvel's doing some work with Miracle Man, and it begins and ends with a nice Neil Gaiman story. And this is pretty solid, yeah. And I don't want to give Marvel my money, but I picked this up, and I was happy with it. And those are my picks of the week. Thanks.
Very nice. Daddy like.
Snap.
We've also got a couple recommendations here. Nicholas Russ says Garbage Pail Kids Origins Atom Bomb was pretty cool. I forgot that comic book came out. I didn't even read it.
I
feel
sold
stupid.
out.
I wanted to read that one. I love the Garbage Pail Kids when I was a kid. You remember the Garbage Pail Kids movie, Yul?
No, I do not.
You should watch that.
That was,
thing. It was
crazy.
That's weird.
It's so
That's weird.
bad,
Really?
it's brilliant.
Is it live action?
It's live action.
Yes.
What?
They got little
it's-
people with the big
Really?
heads on them.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll
Weird.
watch it on Halloween.
Way better than My Pet Monster, the movie. Let's put it that way. That thing was interesting. I'll definitely check that one out. Thanks, Nicholas. We've also got Frank Zanka. Hey guys, just got back from Florida, just got back from Florida. Best wishes to everyone that has damage to deal with. I'm still reading Lazarus Risen by Rucka that I'm enjoying. Well, thank you very much for supporting the channel, and congratulations on everything that's going on. And I'm hopefully that your Florida stuff all worked out. And thankfully that storm appears to have passed through. So thank you very much for supporting the channel. And I hope you're enjoying Lazarus Risen. That one's going on the list. Gabe, do you have any recommendations this week?
Oh, certainly. I agree with most of the panel. Batman 128 is great. This is the issue that borrows a lot from Tower of Babel. And maybe even tells it a little bit better. So it depends on your point of view, but I like that a lot. For DC, for outside DC and Marvel, I'm going to recommend something that I really don't hear anybody talking about. It's a comic from Scout called The West Moon Chronicle. I was thoroughly surprised with that comic book. It mixes Korean Eastern mysticism with monsters and goblins and sword fighting and all kinds of stuff in the middle of Texas. I was really surprised by that comic, and I recommend that highly. It may even be my pick of the year.
What's it called again?
The West Moon Chronicle from Scout.
Okay.
The West Moon Chronicle. Pick that up. I urge you desperately, pick that up. And then for Marvel, I'm actually not going to recommend a Marvel comic. I'm going to recommend a Marvel show. Last night I watched Werewolf by Night on Disney Plus. I enjoyed the heck out of that show. I liked it a lot. I won't say it's exactly faithful.
It's a special. It's a one shot though.
It's like a one shot, but I enjoyed that a lot. They sort of turned Man-Thing into kind of like a Chewbacca type of character, where he like talks through grunts and strange sounds, and he's got like a soft and like kind of friendly side, like a big lovable character. But I like that, and it actually worked out really well. And you get to see a lot of there's violence, there's action, it's well acted, well paced, everything. I liked it a lot. So if you're going to watch if you're going to consume something from Marvel, that's what I would recommend for this week.
Very nice. And Eric, yes, you destroyed Frank Avia's last name when you said it.
Totally did. Yes. Frank Avia.
Absolutely destroyed
Lo
it.
siento.
So we will have recommendations later with Jim talking about all the comic books. So I'm going to recommend this stuff. First, we've got Kaiju number 8. I think this is volume number 3. This thing is absolutely fantastic. If you like Hulk, but you're looking for an alternative, this is a great read. If you don't like Hulk and you just want a good comic book, read Kaiju number 8. And then I also got this. I have to give a shout out to Eric Breen, who's in the chats right now. Daddy like read. We got the shock suspense stories from EC Comics. This is from Dark Horse, where they're reprinting the EC Comics stuff, but it's like in really huge format, and it's absolutely beautiful. So if you want some old school stuff, definitely check this one out. I want to say thank you very much to everybody. I hope you're enjoying New York Comic Con. I hope if you're in Florida, you survived everything and everything's going well. And we'll see you next week right here on the Thinking Critical, right here on the Comics Aficionados on Thinking Critical.